Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show, a special watch-along edition today for the Friday night Bundesliga action between FC Augsburg and Bayer 04 Leverkusen. So yeah, should be a good game down here in Bavaria, not too far from where I'm based as well in Nuremberg. I think it's only about 80 kilometers or 50 miles for you mile measurers as well out there. So as you can see on the screen, we've got the lineups have already been announced. You can see the Augsburg and Leverkusen lineups there. Obviously, we are sponsored by Bully News, which is providing the lineups as well for us today. So go and check out that fantastic website as well. So, Peter, what do you think? What do you think about the lineups? Anything that kind of stands out in terms of players and formations there for you?
Well, it should be fairly straightforward. When the team sheets were released, I was, along with most German football fans, very, very disappointed to see that Florian Wirtz was not included. So essentially what Xabi Alonso is going for here is a 3-4-3 that he's used in the past. Adam Watchalong, who is a Czech striker, not Patrick Schick, not that Czech striker, but a different one, will be spearheading the attack. And then we will have him being buttressed by Amin Adli and Moussa Diaby, two Frenchmen. Mitchell Bakker, also a surprise to be included in the lineup at the left wing-back position. He'll be working opposite of Jeremy Frimpong, the Dutchman, who has been quite prolific in this 3-4-3 particularly. Yeah, this is a surprise from Xabi Alonso. I'd be curious to know why Florian Wirtz was not included. So it's definitely going to be a 3-4-3. What we've been seeing from Leverkusen in the past two matches with Florian Wirtz back is actually a back four with the Ecuadorian Piero Hincapié working as the left back. There was some talk that Mitchell Bakker had outlived his usefulness, that Jeremy Frimpong needed to get used to life as a right back. And all of this was because the side changed immensely once Florian Wirtz returned from injury. So for whatever reason now, and perhaps somebody in the comment section can let us know, we have Florian Wirtz on the bench. We have the old 3-4-3, and that'll be going up against a fairly predictable 4-4-2 from Enrico Maaßen of Augsburg. The only one change from his last match is the suspended Ahmed Demirovic, who was operating on the left flank, will be replaced by the Finn, longtime Augsburg player Frederik Jensen. But otherwise, it's going to be the same 4-4-2 from Enrico Maaßen, with the Belgian phenom, who kind of came out of nowhere, Engels, working in midfield alongside Elvis Rexbekai.
One of the hardest names to pronounce. Yeah.
Well, Rexbekai, it's just, you want to say that H. You want to.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. So Rexbekai is the way you do it. Just don't say the H. But at any rate, yep, that is our a 3-4-3 versus a 4-4-2. These are both constellations formations that these teams have practiced throughout this campaign and have some experience in. Well, should be some interesting tactical changes within the match, because I can't imagine that Flo Wirtz is going to remain on the bench for the entire time.
Yeah, there's a lot of quality on the bench, and as you mentioned, Flo Wirtz, but also Callum Hudson-Odoi for you English fans as well out there. He's, a former Chelsea starter as well. You've got to remember, just 2 or 3 years ago, he was a first-choice player for Chelsea, and he was even involved in the Champions League winning side under Thomas Tuchel. Obviously, his career hasn't gone perhaps as expected, and obviously he's not really getting picked that much for Leverkusen at the moment. Perhaps for Augsburg, the surprise is that Nicolas Dorsch, obviously signed, I think, for 7 million from Belgium a couple of years ago. He's not really been involved so much, as you mentioned. Arnie Engels seems to have replaced him in the first-choice lineup at the moment, which is quite a coup for the 19-year-old Belgian, as you mentioned. But yeah, both sides looking pretty strong. Poor weather over here in Bavaria, by the way, which could potentially influence a few things. I would imagine down in Augsburg, at least here in Nuremberg, the wind is swirling and a bit of sleet in the air as well. So let's try and put our predictions out there. I think I'll start. So I'm going to go for a shock home win. Actually, I think that Augsburg can get the result tonight. I think if you look at their home results recently, they've been very good. They beat Gladbach in the last home game relatively comfortably, although the goal did come quite late in the game. They very much deserved the 3 points in that match. I do believe that the way they played this season is a little bit better than the league position suggests. Obviously, there's 18 points and 2 points above the relegation playoff spot at the moment. So a win would be really, really useful tonight. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win. What about you, Peter? What's your say on the prediction?
Well, I'm not one to talk about these streaks very often, but Augsburg have won their last 4 Friday night games at home. And that includes a victory over Bayern. You may recall that from the last campaign. So I, of course, have the match on screen here. You do as well, I assume, yes?
Yeah.
Some wonderful scenes there at the VWK Arena. The young mascots, that is the young children in Augsburg, they don't just accompany the players out to the pitch. They have a little flag parade there before the ultra section before each match, and that's a very, very nice pre-match tradition there at the VWK Arena in the Bavarian section of Swabia. And yes, this lineup, this Leverkusen lineup, this 3-4-3, there's a lot of strength in it. Frimpong does very, very well as a wingback. Concerned a little bit about Bakker coming in cold after sitting out the last couple of matches. I would say that and Hotzlek, he's a good striker, but he's not one that's really been able to consistently perform in the Bundesliga just yet. Leverkusen, for whatever reason, are going with a weaker lineup here. One that could potentially get stuck and ground down in midfield with these 2 strong midfielders we have from Augsburg on the double 6. Yeah, I don't know why this is. Perhaps somebody can get us some up-to-date information about what's going on with Florian Wirtz. Leverkusen obviously don't have a Pokal fixture midweek. They were eliminated in the first round. But, yeah. There's Rory. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory for Augsburg here Friday night under the lights in front of their great supporters and fans there at VWK.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the pre-match tradition. I was over in Augsburg for the game against Wolfsburg in October, and I absolutely loved the pre-match build-up. Was superb there at the WWK Arena. Yeah, and I've got to say, they have one of the best club songs in Germany as well. Have you heard it, Peter? The Rot, Grün, Weiß, the Red, Green, White. Yeah, that's the name of the song. And I love the German club songs, by the way. I've got to say, they're absolutely superb. And this is one of my favorite songs. Yeah, I absolutely love this one. Yeah, it's. Have you heard it, Peter?
I have. As a matter of fact, I was down there at the arena myself, but this was years ago. I don't remember how it goes. I obviously have my broadcast on mute tonight, so I can't hear it. The ultras, as you can see, for those who are watching it on screen, you can see that the ultras there in the Kurva are waving their flags, chanting, doing a great job. Something else about Augsburg people may be interested in: when they avoided relegation last year for the 11th consecutive season, they had a great T-shirt that was modeled after like an old 8-bit NES shirt that said, "You have completed level 11, now off to level 12." The shirt that was modeled after like the old Nintendo platform jumpers. I'm sure you can get it at the club shop. It's very much worth it to have that in your collection.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know what? One thing I've always said about Augsburg, they remind me of my English club, Wigan Athletic. I don't know if you know, Peter, that my English club is actually Wigan Athletic. I'm a big fan of them. Been a season ticket holder for a couple of years in the past as well. And they do remind me of them because, like, they're the kind of team that every German fan kind of thinks, surely this is the year they're going to get relegated, But every year they manage to surpass expectations and stay up. And for me, I really do believe this is the best team they've had in probably 4 or 5 years since the Marcus Weinzel days, the first spell under Weinzel when they finished 6th in the league. I think this is the best side they've had in probably since 2015-16 kind of time. Would you agree with that, Peter? Or
yes, I would. And we've talked about this a lot on our various shows, that Augsburg is now backed by a U.S. financial backer called Bolt Football Holdings. And it is with this additional financial backing that they've been able to spend so much in the last 3 transfer windows. Germans are very, very curious as to whether this is a 50+1 violation. We're relying on some of our journalistic sleuths to maybe find out the answer to that question for us. but we don't know yet. At any rate, they have gone on another massive spree. They have 7 new signings. 2 of them are in the lineup this evening. Pieko, the Croatian striker who is working alongside Mergin Berisha. And who else? It is Engels, of course, in midfield. Yeah. So as we get started here, just kicking off, Augsburg have not relinquished possession just yet. They're in their 4-4-2, and they are making it work.
Yeah. Well, just a little bit more on that potential breach of 50+1, because that is a story in Germany at the moment. What could any potential repercussions of that be? Like, say they are found to be breaching that with an outside investor, could there be any potential penalties or deductions?
Yes, it would go through the German federal antitrust body, which is designed to adjudicate on such 50+1 violations, potential ones. And they would work together with the DFL, the German Football League. That's a league body that's responsible for administering the top 2 professional footballing flights. Thus far, nothing has been filed. We've received insistence from Augsburg that this is still a fan-owned club. There is a little bit of financial backing, but Bolt Football Holdings is not on the board. They don't make the decisions. Augsburg still has a president. They still have a managerial structure that is built from within. And we have no reason to doubt that just yet. But we want to be careful because we don't necessarily want too many investor holdings coming in and interfering with German fan-owned clubs. Probably the bigger mystery might be the one that's going on with Hertha right now, the 777 consortium, the one that bought out Lars Windhorst. We know even less about them. So we'll see. But Bolt Football Holding has been associated with Augsburg now for, I believe, the last 18 months. And thus far, there's been no federal trade complaint filed. So,
yeah, it's definitely something that is starting to creep into German football a little bit, isn't it? Like, obviously, I mean, RB Leipzig are the famous ones, but I think everybody knows that they've found a way to make it work, which is obviously very, very controversial within Germany. I think they only have about, 250 official members, and they're all like shareholders of Red Bull, basically, or something like that. It's a very, very controversial system, which has basically cheated the 50+1, which is one of the reasons why I think RB Leipzig is so disliked in Germany, really. Can you confirm that, Peter, as well?
Of course. I mean, RB Leipzig doesn't even pretend to be a fan-owned club. And we know that. It's a club that was founded only some 13 years ago. It has no tradition. As we see Bakker actually getting involved here for the first time. He's quite eager to earn that starting place back. He is, the Dutchman. But, that's actually a funny story. The Isco transfer that fell apart, there was a little bit of a Twitter feud that occurred as FC Union Berlin were prepared to kick off against Wolfsburg in the Pokal this week. So FC Union published their starting 11 on Twitter. The official RB Leipzig Twitter feed, and these are 2 East German clubs, put Isco ? Underneath the lineups. And then FC Union Berlin responded, tradition ? Many different Bundesliga clubs got involved in this. The thing had like thousands upon thousands of threads. Mainz was involved, Hertha was involved, and all of this stuff. Yes, Germans are not fans of RB Leipzig. They probably never will be. Even if we came around to many teams like Wolfsburg or Leverkusen, Leipzig is, I don't think. I mean, there was a time when we were okay with the fact that Leipzig, they were, how shall we say, the only club that could represent the former East Germany. Because there was a period of 10 years in the Bundesliga where there was no East German representative. So we figured, okay, we'll have an East German representative and we'll reserve some of the hate that we have for Leipzig for Hoffenheim instead. But then came Erste FC Union Berlin, which is also an East German club from Köpenick. The club of Wolf Biermann and Nina Hagen. So we have a true East German club, and a true East German club that every German fan loves to get behind and loves to have representing our country. So no love for Leipzig after that, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the one before that was Energie Cottbus, if I'm right, as well. I think they were they were a regular in the league in the mid-2000s. I think they had a really old-school stadium. I remember watching them back when I was based in England, and I always thought, wow, it must be so cool to go and watch a game there, you know. But I think they've dropped right down to the Regionalliga now, haven't they, Peter? I think they're not anywhere, really.
Well, there were East German clubs that were out and about. Hansa Rostock was in the top flight for a brief period of time as well. I mean, we had some. We tried to integrate it, but that period where there was no representation, we got a little bit concerned. We also got a little bit concerned with, the rightward turn of the former East and the rightward turn of some of their ultras. So we wanted more East German teams in the top flight. Now we have one. And Leipzig,
I think nobody doesn't like Union. Do you know what I mean? I think they're like one of the most universally popular clubs, probably along with Freiburg and maybe Mainz. I think they're the kind of clubs that they're everyone's second team, if you know what I mean.
It's an exceedingly popular club. It's a wonderful story. I can remember going to visit FC Union at the Stadion an der Alte Försterei back in 2007, and that was before we even had a third professional tier in Germany. So they were in the Regionalliga, and they were supported by a loyal group of punks who never gave up. This being Nina Hagen's club, it's very, very much a punk rock club. It's not so much a punk rock club anymore. The two great German punk rock clubs are, of course, St. Pauli and Düsseldorf. But at the time they were the third German punk rock club. It's a little different now. There's sometimes a little bit more a family atmosphere and such, and they've cleaned it up a little bit. But there's still the heart of that spirit when you go to see a game at the Stadion an der Alte Försterei these days.
Yeah, definitely. Just as Moussa Diaby puts a really good ball in, which is really well defended by the Augsburg defence in the end. Diaby looking quite dangerous early doors. A brilliant ball into no man's land, as they say, which is brilliantly defended by the man with the hardest name to pronounce in German football. I'll let you pronounce that. Jeffrey. Let's just call him Jeffrey tonight.
Oh, yeah. Jeffrey Habaleo. Habaleo is how it's pronounced, and that is Dutch for the Golden Lion.
Yeah, Habaleo. It's a great name, though. Yeah, and he is a good player. And actually, the corner is headed on by Hincapie into the palms of Giekewitz, the Augsburg goalkeeper. But I think, quite an open start in the first 8 minutes of the game. No major chances, but there's definitely a kind of feeling that this could be quite an open match between. I would say previously Augsburg would have been considered to be a defensive side, but in the last, under Enrico Maaßen, they have changed the style. They try to play on the front foot a little bit more, especially at home now, scoring a little bit more goals, increasing that XG, and I do think they'll get a goal or two tonight. Just a few questions coming in as well in the chat from Mark Baker. Evening, everyone. Really enjoyed the Football League content. Will you do some watch-alongs for the EFL? Unfortunately, I can't answer that. We'll have to get our very own David Pearson to answer that particular question. But I can answer this question. Does Mark plan to go to another Bundesliga game soon? The match day vlogs are excellent. Thank you, anyway. But, yeah, I definitely do plan on going to a few games before the end of this season. As I say, Leipzig and Hoffenheim are on my list, although, as we mentioned before, they're not known to be the best atmosphere in the Bundesliga, but it's easier to get tickets than some other teams. I hope to go to Augsburg again before the end of the season, and also potentially Frankfurt as well is in the offing. But then the kind of holy grail of Rhine-Westphalians as well. I plan on doing that hopefully before long, because that's where most of the Bundesliga clubs are based. To maybe even Mainz with Peter, because Peter, you're based kind of near Mainz and Stuttgart a little bit, right?
Yes, although as a Pfälzer, we have to go to Leipzig before Mainz are, of course, the regional rivals of my beloved FC Kaiserslautern.
Yeah.
I am still one who tends to go to a Mainz match every so often and enjoys it. If they are playing Lautern, it's a different story. But
Yeah.
Mainz is a lovely place to go to the Mewe Arena there, as it's called now. It's been called various things in the past, the Opel Arena before that, and a couple of other names. But yeah, Mainz is one of those great Bundesliga stadiums to arrive at early and speak with some of the local ultra and community groups, because they really do an awful lot for their community there in Mainz. Last time I was there, it was towards the end of the pandemic, so we still had some restrictions. Of course, it wasn't the full atmosphere. But I spoke with some lads who were, doing some work in terms of housing in the community, helping out the less fortunate through a soup kitchen and things like that. Your German ultras are going to be involved in their community because their club belongs to their community, and it's a community athletic society. And so it should stay, to harken back to the conversations that we had about various different clubs in the Bundesliga. A Pokal match between Leipzig and Hoffenheim this week. That match is known among Germans as El Plastico.
Fantastic name. Yeah. Yeah. I actually plan on going to that game before Christmas. I think they played in the league as well. But to be honest, so many people dissuaded me from going. They said the stadium will be half empty and it's just not the best game that you can go to, It's but to be honest, one thing I always say is that as an English person, I don't feel the same hate as what other people do towards like money clubs, so to speak, because let's be honest, the English game is, pretty much a money game. We even call the Premier League the greed league, some people, because let's be honest. I mean, what was it? Chelsea FC spent 330 million euros in January, which is just absolutely absurd. Do you know what I mean? It's more than, I think, 3 leagues put together, 3 of the big 5 leagues put together. Chelsea FC spent more money than all of them.
Absolutely. Well, you would be hard pressed to meet a German football fan, and this trend has been going on for quite some time, who is disappointed about the Premiership buying up Bundesliga players. We're not disappointed about it at all. You might think that some Germans would be like, oh, they're stealing all of our best talent, they're picking our league dry or something like this. No. Germans are quite content with the way that their league is. They will protest additional funding pumped into clubs whenever they can. And there's a certain German pride in that we believe many, many overachievers are being sold to these English clubs for sums that enrich our clubs and allow us to further invest in developing talent. So we're fine with it, more or less. It is.
Some of the money is just crazy. I mean, what was it? 100 million euros for Havertz, and he's a good player, but he's not exactly setting the Premier League alight, has he? I think he averages 5-6 goals a season.
Yeah, Timo Werner is back with Leipzig. Luka Jovic returned to Frankfurt. There's a myriad of examples, I would have to say. That, I mean, there's plenty of players who come back to the Bundesliga, just having not, having encountered the reality that their talent was overestimated. As we see the Augsburg fans doing a little version of the thunderclap.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Augsburg Ultras. Good memories from seeing them. It's a bank of about 10 to 12,000. Actually, a really good tackling midfield as well, as Augsburg looked to break, or a bit of a dodgy pass there in midfield, but Augsburg still have it. Good overlap as well into the fullback, puts the ball in. That's actually luckily defended by Leverkusen in the end, really. But that's probably the first time really Augsburg have had a decent attempt. It wasn't really a shot, but it was a chance. If someone could have got to that second ball, it would have been a really good chance there for Augsburg. But, quite a lot of midfield play so far, no major chances. But at the same time, it's a relatively open game. Both sides look like they've got quality. They're trying to attack, but just nothing as of yet has happened major. Looks like a good crowd on tonight for a cold Friday night at Augsburg as well. Definitely the Ultra stand is completely packed out. Can't see how many fans have come from Leverkusen, but I wouldn't imagine that many on a Friday night from pretty much the other side of the country, really, isn't it, Peter?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, Augsburg is in the Bavarian or the Swabian section of Bavaria, so it is in the west. But as a matter of fact, some interesting. Julian Nagelsmann is from a small Swabian Bavarian village not far from Augsburg. He did not grow up an Augsburg supporter, as he was keen to remind everyone when he was appointed FC Bayern. But it is kind of I wouldn't want to say sleepy section of the country. You can enjoy a trip to Augsburg. Augsburg is famous for things that you might associate with traditional German festivities, be it Oktoberfest, be it the Augsburger Volksfestival, which is, kind of like a mixture between a old school music festival and a book fair. And it's a very traditional place. Home of the Fugger banking family, which is the German version of the Medicis. Don't know why there's not a Netflix serial about that. Why can't we get a one of these streaming services a serial about the Fugger family?
Yeah, they call it the Fuggerstadt, right? That's yes. What you can see. The Fuggerstadt is the name.
Indeed, Fuggerstadt, and the Augsburger are the Fuggerstädter. Yeah. So that is their official nickname there. They are. It is, yes, Oompa bands, book festivals with tents, lots of puppetry. As I said, you would associate that with a lot of, if you asked somebody about Germany, this sort of section of Bavarian Swabia would be very much, almost the cliche Germany. That
it is,
pop up in somebody's mind.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. One of the times actually was to see the famous Schloss Neuschwanstein as well. You know that, like the famous castle, I think the Disney castle was modeled on the famous Neuschwanstein castle as well. Yeah, and you can go to Füssen as well, which is an amazing place. Yeah, it's right down near the border of Austria. I think it's probably about 80 to 100 kilometers away from Augsburg, but Augsburg is the nearest big town to this area, and I highly recommend any tourist, anyone who likes traveling, you've got to see that because it's amazing, really. Like the foothills of the Alps as well, it's really cool down there. And there's a few really nice lakes as well in that area as well. I think the Ammersee, I seem to remember, is down there. It's really, really nice part of the country down there. Have you been there a lot, Peter, yourself?
No, not in that section, but my family is, I'm a Pfälzer. I was born in the Palatinate, and I consider myself a Pfälzer tried and true. But my family in Germany is originally from the Baden-Württemberg section of Swabia. Okay. So I have some Swabian roots. And they are, we don't want to get too much into the patchwork quilt that is German medieval history. Everybody can get their pencils out because all of this is going to be on the test. But
it sounds like a test of German.
Precisely. But in an old country such as Germany, every 20 minutes you have a different, old principality, that was once its own independent fiefdom in medieval times. So culturally speaking, people remain very, very proud of what type of heritage they have. And that's where, you're going to get your Swabians, your Württembergers, your Pfälzer, and all of this stuff. But that's, of course, what makes the country so nice, in my opinion. And of course, traveling through it to go watch football matches at all levels and every levels is something that, that's what we call the good life.
Yeah, it's highly recommended, definitely. Yeah, highly recommended. Yeah. Rory came in and said, must say I'd favor a Leverkusen win from a VfB Stuttgart point of view. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you're right on that point. Dan says, big fan of Mark's Matchday vlogs. Please do more, and tell Dave and Ben I would love them to do more. Do some for League 1 and 2 grounds as well. Yeah. Happy Friday. I'm off to the pub. Tell them to put the Bundesliga game on over there in the UK as well. So show them some proper football anyway. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As for the game, it's Augsburg are dominating possession the last 5 minutes. I don't even think Leverkusen have had the ball really in the last 5 minutes other than to clear it upfield. Augsburg are really starting to dominate play. Again, not really created any major chances, but they're fighting hard in midfield. They're winning the midfield battle at the moment. The likes of Arnie Meyer and Arnie Engels, the two Arnies, actually. It's a pity there's not Arnie Schwarzenegger out there as well. But yeah, the three of them, and a good overlap again there. But ooh.
I think now that they have a incredible midfielder named Engels, they also have to sign a midfielder named Max, so that we can have a double six set up there in midfield. I think Augsburg's possession game is highly significant here. Augsburg are actually the team with the lowest possession stats in the Bundesliga. They're only averaging about 40% possession. And they have the second to lowest duel rate, right behind FC Schalke, who is in last place. We talk a lot about Augsburg and their potential, the money behind the club, the 7 signings that they've made in this winter transfer window. Let's not forget, they're also just 2 points above the relegation zone at present. And much of the reason why Augsburg have been able to avoid relegation in these past years, they're always in the relegation discussion, is because Stefan Reuter was constantly firing the head coach a couple of weeks before the season was ending. It began with Manuel Baum, then Martin Schmidt during the COVID year, then Heiko Herrlich, whom you may recall was the one dumb enough to leave the team's quarantine to toothpaste and hair gel. And then I was surprised to see Markus Weinziel in his second stint with Augsburg survive the entire season. Of course, he resigned on the last day of the season. So a lot of trainer carousels going on here in the Fuggerstadt. Maaßen has surprised many of us with our results, but let's not forget that this team has been inconsistent, and there's a lot of statistical metrics in which they are in the bottom fourth of the table. So the fact that they're winning the possession game tonight, the fact that Rex Bahai and Engels are dominating in midfield, this is highly significant. I think that they've gained the upper edge against Leverkusen here. Would not be surprised at all to see them add a goal or so in the next 10 minutes, as they are making little pinpricks. And what can we say about Leverkusen? Why are you lining up in this 3-4-3? Why?
It's definitely not working so far. Other than that, when Moussa Diaby got in behind the goal, like in behind the defense, and played that good ball, which was well defended by Jeffrey. That's the only time Leverkusen have really been forward. But it's funny we say that, because Augsburg have had 2% possession in the game, which is really, really good. As you mentioned, only 40% average, but they're averaging around 22% more than usual in this game. But the only problem is they haven't had a single shot in anger at all in 23 minutes of this game, which is quite ironic, because usually what I would say about Augsburg, whenever I watch them, that they tend to make quite good of the little ball that they do get. I mean, this season they've been averaging around, pretty much every game at least over 1.3, 1.5 goals per XG. They've not always got that, but they have created chances with the little play that they have. But tonight has been the opposite, hasn't it, Peter? I mean, they've had a lot of the ball, but they've not had a single shot in anger so far.
They have quality strikers. They have quality finishers. They're definitely missing Demirovic on the wings. I mean, Demirovic, he can play up top in the two-striker set, but Maaßen has mostly been using him on that left flank this season. Meyer, who's working opposite Frederik Jensen tonight, the Finn, is also not a natural winger. I mean, he's a midfielder, one who was supposed to pair with Niklas Dorsch in midfield. It was supposed to be these two German U21 internationals that were going to do the midfield for Augsburg. Maaßen's got some players out of position. We see them trying to build up the flanks a lot. I think you're a little bit ahead of me, so yeah, you're a little bit ahead.
They got in really well there. That was one of the best chances to put a good ball in, but it was unfortunately messed up in the end. So again, in Augsburg, you feel as though they're getting close. As you mentioned, they're completely dominating possession. I would say since the first 10 minutes, I wouldn't say Leverkusen have had the ball for more than a few seconds, to be honest. Augsburg are really, really doing well on the ball. They're playing the ball around well through the midfield and through the back, but they just can't play the right pass at the moment. They tend to go wide very often, don't they? They go wide every time, but it's just, so far the key pass hasn't been played, and they have had probably 3 or 4 chances in good positions, but the likes of Arnie Meyer hasn't managed to quite get the ball in, and Jensen to a certain extent as well. They haven't managed to get the ball into the right areas. But just as we mentioned that about Leverkusen, they do have a shot, but it's easily saved from distance there. It was Andrik who ended up having the shot, but there was a little tumble in the box there from one of the Leverkusen strikers. It was actually deflected the shot. Very, very easy save for Gikiewicz. You can't really call that a proper shot on target, but just checking that there. But it did look as though could have been a potential Leverkusen player went to ground in the box, but it doesn't seem like they're checking anything. So
leave it
ball
to
will be continued.
Yeah. Leave it to Andrich. It was slightly deflected off of Engels there. To try and do something for this Leverkusen team. His, of course, former FC Union player with tremendous amount of fight and heart in midfield.
Yeah.
Really, I have to say, this back three, Leverkusen, their defenders have had so many confidence issues this season. Jonathan Tah is not in the lineup tonight, but Kosunu and Hincapié have had their fair share of problems. Kosunu has made many mistakes this year, many defensive lapses. Hincapié has had disciplinary problems, constantly getting booked.
He's just been booked, just as you speak, he's been booked for a dive in the penalty area. I don't know if you saw that one, but he's just been booked. He went on a brilliant run, and then he's just literally... I'm not sure if it was a booking, though, really. It looked like a fair challenge, but I think he's been a bit hardly done to that. I'm sure it'll come onto your screen in a minute, but it looked like he was... Well, jeez. Wasn't enough for a penalty, but I mean, he is the kind of guy. He always seems to get in the referee's bad books in Capier, doesn't he?
Rex I had him. He did have his hand on his shoulder there.
Yeah,
but there was no contact, as you can see from the replay.
But it wasn't a booking for me, though. I think that's a little bit harsh, right?
Yeah, you could say that. He did lose his footing. He stumbled. I don't think he dove on purpose. I would agree with you there. Absolutely. Yeah. Edmund Tapsoba, the Burkinabe, he was the one defender in this back three that I didn't get to. He has had a roller coaster ride of a week. It was last week in the midweek fixtures that he finally broke Leverkusen's curse from the spot. And then he scored an own goal against Dortmund last Sunday. Nearly scored two own goals. Very surprised to see him in the lineup. And as I catch up with you there's Diaby flashing over.
Nice looking strike, but always rising that one, wasn't it? It did dip a little bit, but not enough to come down. But, the last few minutes, just as we mentioned, Leverkusen have had probably 2-3 decent attempts at goal. So, they've increased their percentage stats to 40%, but, Augsburg has still not had a single shot yet so far. It's not been the most entertaining game, in truth, but you do believe that one goal in this game could really open the floodgates, Peter, don't you, really?
From a tactical point of view, it is interesting. It is interesting to see how Augsburg is trying to attack this Leverkusen back three, which is quite vulnerable. I said that, and I want to emphasize that. For some reason, they've been unable to capitalize on it, despite the fact that they have two excellent finishers in Mergin Berisha and Bejo. So this may come back to haunt them, of course, because Leverkusen are growing into the game now. They're taking more risks. They're pressing up a higher there. So, yes, this may come back to haunt them, of course. You're right, though. I mean, we could use some more scoring chances. We could use some more excitement here.
Yeah. I've got to say, though, some of the fullback defending from Leverkusen has been particularly good. I think Frimpong is having a really good game there at fullback. Oh, actually now, just as we speak, Diaby has got the ball. He's running at the defence of Augsburg, and it's been played wide. He hits it. Oh, it's off the aluminium. It's hit the post there. I think it's Diaby who hits it off the post. It looked as though Gikiewicz was beaten, was Diaby, and that's the first real big effort. And Leverkusen, it seems as though we put the curse on Augsburg, because Leverkusen have dominated the last 5 minutes. It was a very good strike, which clatters off the bar and comes back out into play, but nobody can put the final touch to it. And Augsburg just about escaped, Peter.
Indeed. And the 3-4-3, of course, has incredible pace on the counter. That counter was started by Tapsoba, who has gone ahead and gotten himself into the game, I would agree. And that's how the 3-4-3 is supposed to function, with that kind of quick counter. And it just came wrong side of the post, unfortunately. Could have very much been the opener there.
Yeah. And Rek'Sai, good play in midfield there, gets the ball forward for Augsburg for the first time in a good few minutes. But again, the intricate passing, maybe they're overpassing it a little bit today, Augsburg, because, we're used to seeing them as a more direct side, but today they have gone for the possession game, which is good to show that under Enrico Maaßen, they can start to play some of this possession football as well. Because as you mentioned, I think it's not only this season, it's been something probably in the last 4 or 5 years that they haven't been a side that have been able to dominate a game possession-wise. But tonight they have done that, but some of the passing hasn't been good. The pass quota is officially 81%, the pass success rate, which is higher than Leverkusen's, but that's kind of expected because Leverkusen are playing more on the break so far this game, so passes will go astray. But just in the key moments, the passes haven't been so good, Peter, for Augsburg, have they?
I think that we're having a little bit of difficulty maintaining the shape here. I keep a close eye on the tactical cam whenever I can. I have the privilege of doing so in the States at the moment. Bejo is dropping a little bit too deep. Our midfield tandem is pulling apart far too easily. I do like the works of the fullbacks on both sides of the ball. That is Mads Petersen and Robert Gumni. But it seems like they're also out of sync a little bit too, particularly when it comes to opportunities to switch the point of attack. So we're seeing a little bit of a choppy and stuttery attack from Augsburg. And the passing is fine if you're going to bow arc it out of the back or try to play inside on the midfield. But we're not getting enough quality chances here because the shape is not holding the way it should be. That cannot be considered a handball. Would you agree? It seems to have been
no chance. Yeah. But just as you were speaking there, Peter, Augsburg did have the first shot on in anger, and it was on target, but it was a very, very easy save for the goalkeeper Hadatsky. But I would say overall that Leverkusen is starting to dominate a little bit now. They're using that pace, especially of Diaby. He's really starting to get involved in the game a lot more. Just as Leverkusen once again probe deep into the Augsburg half, but it's cleared out for a throw-in the end. But, the likes, obviously, Diaby is one of the best players for Leverkusen. He is starting to get involved more and more. We've not seen very much of Hlozek, though, have we? Obviously, the replacement, the compatriot of Patrick Schick as well, the Czech. Mm-hmm. He's not really been involved very much. He signed for quite big money as well in the summer, didn't he? And he's not really impressed that much in a Bayer Leverkusen shirt, although we've got to give him a bit of time yet, just as we see the replay of the effort from Augsburg, which was hit in by Bejo, actually, the Croatian striker. I think making his debut, or at least his starting debut today for Augsburg. He has the first shot for the home side. And, but well defended. Got to say, Bayer Leverkusen are defending relatively well so far in the game. They've, positioning's been good, especially Tapsoba's got himself into the game. Frimpong I've been impressed with as well. So, Leverkusen, as you mentioned, defensively, they've not been very good all season. I mean, they've shipped goals left, right, and centre. But just tonight, I would say, we have seen improvement in general under Xabi Alonso. And, defensively, it's a little bit better, Peter.
Yeah, perhaps he went with this back three in order to give certain players confidence. Perhaps he felt the need to ensure that Tapsoba found his feet again and got some confidence after what has been an insane week for him. Perhaps he wanted to give Bakker some time. There's been whispers that Bakker was upset about being benched those last 2 games since he reverted to a back four and with Wirtz returning. Here is Bakker, as a matter of fact, but no, he was unable to keep the ball. Yeah, that should be a goal kick. And you're still a little bit ahead of me, I would imagine.
I think I'm just on 34 minutes just as we speak now.
Okay. All right. So you're about 15 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah.
That's odd. When Rory and I did it, he was I was ahead of him, and then we synced up at the half somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm only down the road from where the game's happening. We've got to remember. So, and I'm using DAZN. What's your provider over there in the States, Peter?
ESPN. ESPN. As a matter of fact, yes. I really enjoy the matches on DAZN, particularly these Friday night matches, as Sandro Wagner often does the commentary on them. Highly
he's
recommend
fantastic.
do those broadcasts.
I'm a big fan of DAZN in general, actually. I think it's a fantastic provider. I think the commentary is good. I also watch the darts. I don't know if you're a fan of that, Peter, but I watch the darts on there as well. I think it's a fantastic, and it's not that expensive. It's increased massively in the last 2 years, but I think when I first got it, it was only €10 a month. And I think now it's like 25 or 30, I think now, but it's still reasonable for the amount of quality sport that you get on there, really.
True. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know why. Germans are going crazy for the darts now as well. It used to be exclusively an English thing. But,
I've always been a fan. I've been a fan for a long time, really. Darts,
I mean, I mean, you watch the darts with people when you go to England all the time in the pub. I mean, you want to play darts. People are watching darts. You're like, what's going on here?
But I play as well. I've got a dartboard in my house as well. But yeah, I know what you mean. To Germany, it's a new thing, really. But I think it's good to see that because I guess in Germany there is room for a second sport because, in Germany, football is so far ahead of every other sport, really, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, I mean, okay, you got ice hockey, handball in the north of Germany, but nothing compares to the beautiful game here in Germany, does it? So I think there is room for a second sport, really, here.
Yeah, I think around the COVID lockdown, Germans really started to get into the darts, and now we've co-opted this little piece of English culture, if you will.
Yeah, modern imperialism, as they say. Okay. It looks like we're going to have the first yellow card of the match as well. I'm not sure who's going to get booked, but it is a booking for the Augsburg man. I think it's Berisha, actually, again. It's Bayo. It's the Croatian international who is going to go into the book just for a pullback on Adley there. Or was it Palacios, actually? But he's gone into the book. He's going to be the first man in the book, Dion Bellio. So, yeah, he started the game relatively well. I thought it was Berisha. I was just going to say that Berisha can't stay out of the referee's notebook, can he? Because he gets booked pretty much every game. But it was actually Croatian here.
Hincapie got booked as well for the dive.
Oh, yeah, he did. The first Augsburg booking then.
Yeah. And I also, Bejo, I believe he started, how many times has he's started several times already.
Okay.
Yes, he has started. I think this is going to be his third start. He immediately had to go in there because Berisha was suspended on yellow at one point. So yeah, he's already gotten an assist. He's opened his Bundesliga assist account, if you will, and has looked rather impressive. I think that his transfer to Augsburg reminded one a lot of the Ricardo Pepi deal last winter, when Pepi was heavily linked with Wolfsburg and Augsburg came in at the last moment and snatched him away. In Bayo's case, we were all but certain that he was going to Gladbach, and Augsburg just scooped him up. Of course, the fact that Gladbach didn't end up selling Marcus Thuram had a lot to do with that. But he looks to be a pretty solid signing. I mean, he's already, and of course they gave up Niederlechner to Hertha early. So that has a lot to do with the fact that he has the starting place now.
For me, he's a big loss. So I was a big fan of Florian Niederlechner at Augsburg. I really liked him. I always thought he ran himself into the ground every game. At the end of the matches, he couldn't walk for a week. Literally, he was such a hard worker. For me, he was born to play for Augsburg, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure if he's going to be the same kind of player for Hertha. He looked like the kind of player that had found the right club for him. I mean, I'm sure he probably has got a pay rise and a better contract up north in Berlin. But for me, I was a little bit surprised from his perspective as well to move north, because he was a key player at Augsburg. He was the first choice in most games. And, he was loved by the fans. I really loved by the fans. I remember the game when I went to watch Augsburg, the fans came right down. He had a great connection with the fans as well. You were a little bit surprised, Peter, to see him move north? Or
not only was I surprised, I actually covered his introductory press conference for Bully News. And he did not look comfortable at all moving to Hertha. Niederlechner is a Bavarian. His family is there. They just spent Christmas there together. He was prepared to transfer to Hertha on a free after the season. That was the initial deal. And all of a sudden, when I believe it was Yeboah signed, Augsburg contacted Hertha and said, Niederlechner can go now because we have strikers. So Hertha took advantage of that. They only ended up paying 500,000 euros for him.
Yeah.
But he went to Berlin carrying a slight injury. He actually hasn't appeared yet for Hertha. And he did not look comfortable at all with that move. I mean, as if the news couldn't get worse for Hertha. If you know.
Yeah. He was, to be honest, he was the one signing that I thought was pretty good for them. I thought he's the kind
he
of
was the
player
only
they needed,
signing.
but, I mean, they can't catch a break, can they? The Berlin.
No, but he does not look happy. He is not a North German. He's never played in that part of the country before. He, with 6 months, he would have had time to resettle his family there, to get integrated summer training camp. I think he doesn't. I think he's very uncertain. He also didn't want to transfer while he was carrying an injury for crying out loud. I mean, that's it. Just we'll talk about Hertha a little bit at halftime when we preview the fixtures.
It looks like a loser for. I guess the winners are Hertha, but as you say, like if he's not comfortable and he wasn't really ready to transfer, I'm not even sure that they'll win. And to be honest, by the time he's starting regularly, he could be a Zweite Bundesliga player in truth, because the way things are looking for the Berliners at the moment, it's just not looking good. If I were him, I'll be honest, if I were him, I'd have signed a new contract at Augsburg, because I just think I saw the connection he had with the fans, and he had a job for life, so to speak. He could have played with Augsburg until he retired, for me.
The problem was that Augsburg weren't interested in re-signing him. Reuter wasn't interested in re-signing him. I mean, he is 32 years of age.
Yeah.
And they wanted to bring in different and younger talent. So Augsburg were ready to move on with him. And, there were other clubs that had interest. He ultimately signed for Hertha, as we've been discussing, with the expectation that he would have time to work this out. But look, Hertha is simply cursed. I mean, we'll talk about them a little bit at the half if you like.
But as we speak, Leverkusen, probably the last 5 minutes or so have been pretty non-eventful, really. No chances, just a bit of change in possession. But Frimpong is currently coming down the right there for the Leverkusen, and it looks like a good ball. He won't quite get to it, though. It's slightly overcooked there by Palacios, and Frimpong can't quite get there, and it's gone out of play for a Giekewitz Augsburg goal kick. The Augsburg fans jumping up and down as well. Just a nice close-up of them. It's probably pretty damn cold down there in Bavarian Schwabia, to be honest with you. I would imagine, I think here in Nuremberg, it's around 3-4 degrees. I would imagine it's even colder down there, to be honest. But it looks pretty cold. The fans all pretty well wrapped up with hats and scarves and things like that. But the game, it's been, as you say, from a tactical perspective, it's been a relatively interesting game, but not that much goal mouth action. We're used to seeing goals in the Bundesliga, aren't we? But in a way, I expected this game to be quite close, because I thought, home advantage. Augsburg don't lose many home games, or I think they've only lost twice, I think, at home so far this season, 2, maybe 3 times. They've been relatively solid at home, at least recently. Anyway, I think they started the season really poorly, didn't they? But in recent months, they've improved. But another shot coming in there from Diaby, which is easily saved again by Giekewitz. Bayer Leverkusen starting to up the shot count, but they've still not really had a real, apart from the effort that hit the post from Diaby, they've not really had any really clear-cut chances, Peter.
Yes, we need tactical changes at the half. I don't understand why Xabi is rolling with this. It's worth emphasizing again that he does not have a midweek Pokal fixture to worry about. Why is he resting some of his best players? Unless there's some information that we're not privy to, I see no reason for this 3-4-3 to continue. I mean, at this juncture, I think both managers should make changes at the half. I would say that Bejo, if he's not going to play his position, if he's not going to keep an axial chain with his striking tandem partner, Megan Berisha, he's roving around quite a bit now, admittedly trying to make things happen, but he's not making things happen. I would perhaps yank him for Yeboah, or any one of the other striking talents that they have on the bench. Maybe we'll see Noah. Speaking of, Augsburg are notorious for having the players with the toughest names to pronounce.
Yeah.
Abeleo, the captain, the center half, is a tough one. But are you
familiar? Kai as well. That's not exactly easy, right?
Well, you can break it up into fourths, Duo Kai, the German he is. But Noah Sarensan-Bazé is an interesting player on the Augsburg bench. I always enjoy when he gets subbed on, hearing the commentators. I mean, when Derek Ray is commentary, one of your former guests here on the
absolutely. Yeah, we did have him on the show.
Yeah, when he is commentating, his pronunciation of every last German player's name is flawless. The man is an absolute genius. That's, as I flit back between the United States and Germany, I've often told you that I enjoy the German coverage much, much more. But the one privilege of being in the States is hearing Derek Ray call Bundesliga games for ESPN.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's commentating this particular Friday night since we're on mute, but the way he flawlessly commentates Noah Sarensen-Bazé is perfect.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things he said, actually, incredibly. One of the things he said when we had him on was that he really prioritizes that because he believes it's a matter of respect to the players as well. And I agree with that, to be honest, because I think obviously some names are difficult to pronounce, but you can learn them at the end of the day if you take the time to. I mean, some of them are very hard for English speakers to pronounce, the likes of Sibai. I sound like a real hypocrite now, don't I?
One of my favorites from Tuesday's Bundesliga show, whilst we were commentating on some live Pokal action, and I bet you the XG stats here are going to be, oh, good Lord, I knew that. Yeah. Augsburg with 0.07, Leverkusen with 0.34.
Yeah, not a game for the purists, as Samuel Boggs says. It's definitely not a game for the purists. But let's hope we do get some changes. Sorry, what were you saying, Peter?
Rory's pronunciation of Luca Waldschmidt. Luca Waldschmidt. Absolutely love it. I mean, if I never thought of pronouncing it that way before, and that would also be, if he ever played in England, he was one of those players that moved abroad for big money. He went to Benfica from Freiburg and had to come back to the Bundesliga. It's a shame he never moved to England, because people could have called him Luca Waldschmidt.
But it means the literal translation is Forest Smith, right? Because Wald is forest. Yeah, Schwarzwald, Black Forest. Yeah, so it means like a forest. I always love to translate the German names because you have some really cool, like very traditional. A lot of the German names, they come from jobs and things like that. Like Schneider is carpenter. Stuff like that, you have a lot of the, it's fantastic. I always like that, or Lehrer for teacher and things like that. You have a lot of those kind of surnames that come from jobs and things like that, which is always quite interesting. Obviously, Schmidt as well is one of the most famous German names. Müller, all these kind of names, they all come from jobs, don't they? Which is quite interesting, really. I think we have the same in English, but it's not so common like in German. Like in German, it's more common, I think, to have the names after jobs and things. Yeah.
Sure. Well, we could go through the entire. If these guys don't pick up, I swear we'll have to go through the entire squad and translate the names.
Yeah. To be honest, I'll be honest with you, it was one of the poorest first halves in terms of entertainment I've seen in the Bundesliga in recent times. Yeah, because we're so used to seeing goals in the Bundesliga, aren't we? But I am confident that it will change in the second half. I believe there are goals in this game, and there were moments where you thought teams could score, but maybe we need a few tactical tweaks, a few substitutions, the likes of Florian Wirtz and Hudson-Odoi to come on for Leverkusen, and maybe the likes of Nicholas Dorsch perhaps to add a bit more solidity and quality in that midfield of Augsburg, I would say. But anyway, let's just turn our attention away from this game for a minute, because I want to discuss some of the games that are going on tomorrow. Obviously, we've got a full Bundesliga program this weekend. This is just the first game to kick us off, but we're just going to give a few predictions for what we think is going to happen for tomorrow's game. So I think one of the biggest games tomorrow is probably BVB Borussia Dortmund versus Freiburg. I mean, obviously, this is a game between two sides currently in the top four, two sides doing really, really well. But for me, you know, BVB are just looking so good at the moment. I was really impressed with how they played against Leverkusen. I thought that was a title-winning performance for me. You know, they let Leverkusen have a lot of the ball, but they hit them on the counter. There were some outstanding performances from the likes of Emre Can and obviously Jude Bellingham, like it is every week, really, isn't it? And for me, I think BVB will get the win relatively comfortably here. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win. What do you think, Peter?
This is unquestionably the game of the weekend, and spoiler alert, it will serve as the tactical focus piece of my weekly tactics talk column on Bully News. I'm going to have to go with Dortmund as well. I think that they are really picking up. We talk about Dortmund doing Dortmund things, that is, you know, aka stumbling, but Emre Can and the manner in which he was able to run the midfield as a 6, I think he's a player really rounding into form. I think that for the first time in a very, very long time, Dortmund have relatively healthy bench. So even if Terzic's initial 4-1-4-1 doesn't work out, he can call in the likes of Jamie Bino-Gittens and Giovanni Reina. And this will be a Dortmund victory. I'll go for 3-1 Dortmund, which was, I believe, the score in the Hinrunde, was it not? Or was
it was, but I think in that game, Dortmund were very, very lucky to win that one. I remember it was a howler from Mark Flecken in goal, wasn't it? And Freiburg were winning until 70, 75 minutes. And then, but you know, that's what you got to do to win titles at the end of the day. You've got to win when you don't play well. But for me, I agree that this is a different looking Dortmund side now. Terzic has done well. He's ridden a few poor games. You know, they did have a few poor games in the Hinrunde, but for me, they're looking better game by game.
They had a crap ton of poor games.
Yeah. Especially that Gladbach game, the game before the break. My God, they were bad in that game defensively.
Indeed.
But yeah, we both agree on a BVB home win there, although all respect to Freiburg, I'm sure they'll give it their all. But anyway, the next game is Union Berlin versus Mainz. I mean, obviously, both sides played in the Pokal in midweek with different fortunes. Obviously, Union Berlin continuing their amazing season with another impressive win at home to Wolfsburg. So they're still going on 3 fronts now, even in February, which is amazing. They host Mainz, who got battered really against Bayern Munich, and probably, you know, the likes of Cancelo just proved too much for Mainz 05 in that game. But for me, again, this has got a bit of a home banker written on it, really. Union Berlin are very, very good in these kind of games. They pretty much always win at home against teams ranked lower than them in the table. And for me, this is probably a 3-1 as well, I would go. I just think Union are looking so good at the moment. They've come back brilliantly after the long winter break, and I just think they look refreshed. You know, Urs Fischer is playing really well with the formation. I'm just going to go for a 3-1 home win there. What do you think, Peter?
Well, sorry about the Pokal tip. I really did think that we'll be able to take Bayern out. Of course, that was before I knew that Nagelsmann was going to go with a new back 3, novel back 3, in which Cancelo was able to thrive and make an immediate impact. I still think Mainz are a strong team. They came off a 5-2 win against Bochum last weekend. And I think that Union are going to be rotating in, if I interpreted Urs Fischer's press conference correctly, he's going to rotate Juranovic into the starting 11, probably start Behrens together with Becker up front, using Jordan off the bench. Yeah, it is a win for Union, but I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think that it'll be a 1-0 win for Union. Pardon me, I have to clear my throat here.
Yeah. And then the next game, an interesting one as well, FC Köln versus RB Leipzig. You know, we know that Leipzig have hit the ground running. You know, they finished the Hinrunde well. They've started the Rückrunde very well. Yeah, but I think FC Cologne have also started the Rückrunde very well. I mean, they've taken 5 points from 3 games. They hammered Werder Bremen in the last home game, amazingly winning 7-1 in that game. And I thought they were absolutely brilliant at Bayern Munich. They deserved to win that game, really, until that amazing Joshua Kimmich strike from 35 meters out ended up getting them a draw. But unfortunately, they couldn't keep that form up. And I thought, I mean, that was a dreadful game, Schalke versus Köln, wasn't it? That just ended up being an absolute scrap, really. But at the end of the day, you know, we always say that if you don't play well, you just got to make sure you don't lose the game. And they didn't lose that game, which kept them comfortably in mid-table. But for me, I mean, we know, I do believe that they're a better home side, Cologne. Definitely, they're a better home side. But for me, there's a big gap in the quality of players on display in this game. Cologne are fighters. Stefan Baumgart is a brilliant manager, but at the end of the day, they are not a brilliant side on paper, Cologne. And I just think the way Leipzig are playing at the moment, they just look so confident. Rosa has been brilliant since he came in, Marco Rosa. I was a little bit doubtful at the time when they appointed him because I didn't think he did that well at Dortmund, in truth. But I think he looks like a match made in heaven, really. For the home, he is a Leipziger as well, isn't he? He's a local guy, and it looks like a match made in heaven. He could take them to the next level for me. And I just think a 2-0 away win for me. I just think, I'm picking all favourites today, but I just think there's too much quality in that Leipzig side for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, that looks to be the case. I expected that Köln were going to have a match like they did against Schalke at one point. We've talked a lot about on this show with Köln, they can overachieve, but this still very much looks like a Zweite Bundesliga Kader with the likes of Stefan Tigges and Linden Meiner and Dennis Hussein Basic and all of these guys. They have pleasantly surprised us before. They have, but sooner or later, I think that they're going to wilt. I think this one could probably get rather ugly, unfortunately. It's not one that I would recommend tuning into. I would say a 4-0 Leipzig win, probably.
Okay, you're going for a battering now for Cologne. Yeah, I know what you mean, though. The stars seem to be aligning at the moment for the away side, and it's hard to see beyond an away win there. So let's go on to the next game, which is indeed Frankfurt versus Hertha. A lot of games look quite foregone conclusions, really, this weekend. That means that all of our tips are going to come in wrong, doesn't it, really? But, this game, Hertha are just... I don't have any words for them, to be honest with you, anymore. They just look a woeful side. Sandro Schmidt has already had to be backed by the Hertha board, which means that he's probably close to being sacked, let's be honest. I would give him another 2 or 3 games without a win, and he's going to get hooked. He's going to be the next of a long, long line of fired Hertha managers in the last 2 or 3 years for me. I don't see them getting a result. I would say Frankfurt they've not been as good since they've come back, but they've still got 5 points from the 3 games, and they've had 2 hard away games. They played away in Freiburg and Bayern. I don't think they were brilliant in either game, ironically. I feel as though if they were a little bit more attacking, they could have taken 3 points in both of those matches. But they've got Kolo Muani, haven't they, who was brilliant in both games. And for me, I can't see beyond an easy. I'm going to go for a 4-1 home win for Frankfurt here. I just can't see Hertha even getting close, to be honest with you. What do you think, Peter?
That scoreline is probably accurate. Frankfurt have not been at their best, but keep in mind they were playing defensively. They were lining up defensively, very defensively, in a 5-4-1 against both Freiburg and Bayern. So yeah, this is going to be a slaughter. I talked enough about Hertha, I think, on the Tuesday pod. Anybody wants to know the gory details, I can tell you all about it. Unfortunately, this is an unprecedented managerial move that I've seen in the top flight. They are trying to run this club as the fans would like them to, but unfortunately, it's going to fail. I believe I have to tell my Charlottenburger friends that Hertha is going down this year, and there's nothing that can stop it. 4-1 sounds about right.
Yeah, and then one of the most interesting games for me is the VfL Bochum versus Hoffenheim game, because this is, Bochum are a very strong home side. They've got a very, very good home support, and I do like a few of their players. Like Hoffmann, I think, has been very good. The striker, I just think Schlotterbeck, Kevin Schlotterbeck, the brother of Nico, has looked good since he came in as well. I was disappointed with them last week. I thought they were really poor at Mainz defensively. But I think, every team in the Bundesliga can have those off days, and I wouldn't read too much into that game. Hoffenheim, on the other hand, Bundesliga fans are literally rubbing their hands together thinking maybe this could be the year they get relegated, because they've looked rubbish recently for me. I just think they've looked woeful, and they got battered again in midweek against Leipzig, really. I know they pulled one back quite late on, but it was always comfortable for the RB side. For me, I'm going to go for a Bochum home win. I just think they want it more. Bochum are a fan-run club. They want it a little bit more than Hoffenheim. And I don't see where Hoffenheim's next win is going to come from. I think Brighton Reiter could potentially be fired in the next few months or even weeks, to be honest. Maybe even a loss here could be the end of him, to be honest, because he's not done what was expected. And if they lose this game, they're going to drop right down in towards that bottom three. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win. What do you think, Peter?
I agree. I've expressed my respect for Bochum, what they've done in the transfer window before on this pod, and I will emphasize again that I do not believe that they will get relegated this year. I believe that they will survive. Unfortunately, I don't believe Hoffenheim are going to get relegated either. There's too much talent on that squad. I believe that Bochum will win. Big win, big home win at the Ruhrstadion with lots of Herbert Grönemeyer playing in the background. And I believe that it will also be Andre Breitenreiter's last match. I think that he'll get sacked after this one. The next coach will come in. He'll reorganize the agglomeration of talent that they have, and they'll have a good second half of the season. But Hoffenheim loses, Breitenreiter goes, and Bochum picks up a valuable 3 points. 3 points that will help them get out of that relegation playoff spot. I think they survive.
Yeah, I definitely think most German football fans will be supporting the home side in that game. I think we can safely say that one. And then on to a very, very traditional derby game, really, a Rhine-Westphalian derby between Borussia Mönchengladbach and FC Schalke 04. Two sides who are probably underachieving, really, in truth, especially Schalke, but even Gladbach, a massive club in Germany, one of the biggest clubs in Germany, and they've not really done it the last few years. And Farke, for me, he's done okay. He's steadied the ship, but nothing special, really. That's what I would use to describe his tenure so far. But, for me, they are a pretty strong home side for me. Most of the wins tend to come at home, although they did win 4-1 at Hoffenheim last week. And this is another chance to pick up another big win, really, in this game. They'll be hoping not just to win, but to win comfortably against a desperately poor Schalke side, let's be honest, despite the signings coming in. For me, this has got 3-0 written all over it. I just don't see Schalke scoring in this game. They look destined for relegation. And, again, it's unfortunate because I would like them to stay up. I do believe that Schalke should be in the Bundesliga. But for me, this is going to be another step towards the inevitable relegation. I'm going to go for a 3-0 home win for Gladbach.
I'll go against the grain here. Bear in mind, my last upset tip did not come to fruition. But I think that the midfield triangle of Kone, Kramer, and Julian Weigl in Gladbach has been really poor. And I believe Kone is out this time, so they'll probably go with Ngumu there in midfield. There's been a lot of Gladbach overachieving, particularly in the 4-1 win last week against Hoffenheim. Most of this had to do with the brilliance of Stindl and Hoffmann. I think Gladbach are still a team that's not off and running despite last week's scoreline. I think Schalke, they have some pieces into place. This is a light upset tip, and I'm going to say that it ends in a 0-0 draw.
Okay. Probably not going to be a Saturday night thriller, according to Peter, that one. Just as we kick off as well, actually, the second half under blustering rain, as I predicted before. We had a bit of a close-up of the weather just before. But we'll continue to keep you updated, but we'll just go through the Sunday games as well, what me and Peter think. So 2 Sunday games, and one of them is Rory's VfB Stuttgart versus Werder Bremen. This is a hard one to tip, really, because, Stuttgart are a funny side because I don't rate them on paper, but I would actually say the results are a little bit better than what they are on paper, in truth, despite the fact that they're third from bottom at the moment. But Werder, they got that big win, didn't they, last week against Wolfsburg, and I just think they've got a little bit more quality, despite the fact that Mitchell Weiser is missing in this game. He's going to be a big miss because I think he's been brilliant this season, truly brilliant. A great signing from Bayer Leverkusen for, I think, €3 million. Mm-hmm. For me, this has got an away win, likely an away win. I think a 2-1 win for Werder. What do you think, Peter?
I'll go 2-0. Stuttgart are still missing Silas and Thiago Tomas. I agree with you. Weiser is a huge miss, but Bremen have steadily improved in each of the matches that they've played, of the 3 matches that they played since we returned from the break. Ole Werner has a system he can plug in. I think they're going to go with the Englishman, Lee Buchanan, probably to take Weiser's place, and I have confidence in him. I'll go 2-0 Werder over Stuttgart. Sorry, Rory, but it's going to be a long second half of the campaign in Stuttgart. It may come down the last day, just as it did last year, and they may be in the relegation playoff spot. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I see no reason to change my relegation predictions from our preview show. 3 weeks in, I'm still thinking Hertha, Stuttgart, Schalke.
Yeah, just as Jensen gets a strike in from the wing as well, a decent strike but easy saves for Hradecky.
You have to make a joke now, right?
Sorry,
Jensen. You have to make the joke about Jensen, right? Jensen versus Hradecky. It's 2 Finns.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that is a good point. Yeah. And actually, almost a terrible back pass as well from Owen. Oh, geez, Diaby is so dangerous, isn't he, when he cuts in from the side? But almost a terrible pass actually from Hradecky, which was almost intercepted, which would have left a great chance, but it just about cleared the head of the Augsburg man. And it looked out of play there from Werder Bremen. Oh no, Werder Bremen, Bayer Leverkusen. We were just talking about Werder, and now I'm talking about them again. But Frimpong couldn't quite keep the ball in. It just goes out there, which would have been a good position for Bayer. But goal kick for Giekewitz there again. 49 minutes or so on the clock, and it's still 0-0. But let's go to the final game of the weekend, then, which is probably the game of the whole weekend, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's this VfL Wolfsburg versus FC Bayern Munich. I mean, Bayern Munich have drawn the last 3 games 1-1. I don't think they've been that good in any of them, to be honest, but they really came back to form against Mainz 05 in midweek. I thought they were brilliant in that game, especially that man, Joao Cancelo. I thought he was brilliant. The cross for the goal, the Choupo-Moting goal was amazing. Let's be honest. That was really, really good. I thought he was brilliant. He could be the signing that reignites their season, really, a world-class right back. I am very, very surprised that Man City let him go, in truth. The rumour is that he had an argument with Guardiola. That's what Alan Michaels is saying here. All the talk in the UK has been about City letting Cancelo go and Guardiola making an example of a sulking player. But, I guess the guy is so well respected in football and also at Man City that he can afford to do that, But for me, it's still not a good decision. They should have patched up the outburst. But obviously, it is a coup for German football to have him in the game. But as I said to Paul, I think the other week, it's at the wrong club as far as I'm concerned, because for me, it strengthens Bayern Munich a lot and makes it likely they will win the title once again. But this is a hard game. They go away to Wolfsburg, who've been brilliant for a long time, although they have suffered 2 narrow 2-1 defeats within a week. Obviously, dropping out of the cup to Union Berlin in midweek as well. But for me, I want to say this is going to be another draw. I want to say a 2-2 draw, but I've got a feeling that Bayern Munich will get their first win in 4 games, the first win since the Rückrunde started. For me, this will be a 3-1 away win. I've got to say. What do you think, Peter?
I'll go 3-0. I think that, Kovac is... Here's the problem with Kovac, okay? Former FC Bayern München trainer, as a matter of fact. Dismissed because of his incessant tactical tinkering. He had a solid 4-1-4-1. Wolfsburg were off to a fantastic start. Absolutely devastating both Freiburg and, admittedly Hertha in the first 2 games back. Then they lose to Bremen because he's messing around with this system again. And they lost to Union in the cup midweek. They did not look good there either in his new system. He's going to try to do something silly. Bayern with Cancelo, to answer Alan's question, has been received very, very well in Germany. He's a marquee player. The press are all over it, of course. And the press were salivating over Isco, too. And since that didn't happen, he's our major transfer of the window. It's going to be a big Bayern win. I was scrolling through some of the comment sections here. People a little bit curious about whether Germans would like a Leipzig title or a Bayern title. I've answered this question before. I believe Germans would probably prefer. I mean, they will go with Bayern over Leipzig, even if it's 11 in a row. That's what they'll be rooting. As to who German fans will be rooting for when Leipzig face Man City, they probably won't even be watching the match. They won't. I mean, it's just they're okay. If they go a little bit deeper, maybe we might get interested. But nobody was interested in watching Leipzig in the Europa League last year. No one. I mean, everybody stopped what they were doing for the Frankfurt match, of course. But no one was really interested in watching Leipzig in that regard. See if I can answer any other questions while I'm at it.
We've had a few in, yeah. Interesting point there about that one, yeah. I think Ballum says he expects Bayern to win away to Wolfsburg.
Yeah, they're going to win. It's Kovac. I've never really considered him all that great of a trainer. He won the Pokal with Frankfurt, and that's how he ultimately got the job with Bayern. Let's not forget that there was some officiating controversy in that Pokal final. There was that's ancient Bundesliga history, if you say, but there was a VAR review that wasn't overturned in spite of overwhelming evidence, so Bayern could feel hard done by in that final. Of course, Kovac I always thought was just too much of a tinkerer, and that's why he didn't succeed at Bayern. That's why he didn't succeed at Monaco. That's why I ultimately think he's going to take a pretty Cadillac Wolfsburg squad and not get the best results out of it. Should be a big win for Julian Nagelsmann's Bayern. But since Leipzig are tipped to win big this weekend, since Frankfurt are tipped to win big this weekend, and since, as we discussed, we think Union will also pick up 3 points, you can very much say that the state of the title race is. And Dortmund as well. We tip to win. It's going to be tight at the top of the table once this weekend is over with. But nobody's going to overtake Bayern this weekend because they will win at Wolfsburg. That's pretty obvious, I would have to say.
Yeah. Just as Leverkusen have a good break, again, a cross coming in from Frimpong, but there's no one in the centre at all for the away side. They are missing Patrick Schick out there. Hlozek he's just had a nothing game, basically. I can't even remember him touching the ball that often at all. They are missing the big talisman from Czech Republic, and a poor clearance is given a chance for Augsburg, who hit it. Oh, it's a great shot, actually, which is well saved. It's the Croatian again. Croatian number 7, Beljo, who hits the ball well as well. It should have been a save, but it's a great effort, really. It's a good save from Hradecky. It's well hit. It was going in, but it's saved at his near post by the Finnish goalkeeper. So a corner will come in for Augsburg, who have been the better side in the second half so far. The corner is going to come in from Engels. Is going to be swept in. We'll just stay with this just while the corner comes in. The ultras of Augsburg are bouncing behind the goal as well. Looks a great atmosphere there in the WWK. Oh, it's a goal. The first goal has gone in. The corner has come in. Awful defending. It's that man Berisha who heads in for Augsburg to take the lead. Enrico Maaßen goes crazy on the touchline. The Augsburg fans are chuffed in the rain. But it's just as we were talking about Leverkusen defense being a little bit better, Peter. It's once again poor defending and poor marking from the corner, isn't it?
Well, they just switched off right there. I don't know what Edmund Tapsoba was doing. He should have been marking someone. The same applies to Kosunu. Yeah, this is not good news for Leverkusen. Their defensive ranks are they take another big confidence hit here. Augsburg could capitalize upon that. Fitting that we got a goal off a set piece in this one because open play had been so choppy and neutralized. Yeah, what is Tapsoba doing? Who is he looking at?
Yeah, that's his problem. He has those switch-offs, doesn't he, Tapsoba? And that's why I never really rated him as a defender, in truth. And he's one of them that he seems to have all the attributes, doesn't he, of a good defender. He can play the ball. He's strong. He's tall. But for me, he just switches off too often. And his record is quite poor over the last couple of years.
When he first came to the Bundesliga it was 2019-20 campaign. They brought him in the January transfer window, and this was Peter Bosch's Leverkusen. He quickly rose to become the most exciting defender in the league, and we were all excited. We thought to ourselves, this is going to be the best, Burkina Faso international in the Bundesliga since Jonathan Petroipa. But yeah, he's just fallen off. He's struggled with his confidence. He's fallen off. I don't know if serving alongside the likes of Jonathan Tah, who has the same problems, has gotten him into the habit of this issue. And it's really sad because I really, really, really like the way he took the league by storm. And I'm a huge Burkina Faso national team fan. Don't ask me why.
Just pretty random team, but they do quite well in Africa. Didn't they make the semi-final of the AFCON last year?
Yeah. Well, I covered AFCON. I covered 5 AFCONs as part of my blog on continental championships and whatnot that I wrote for 20 years and recently retired because 20 years was a good run running that. And I didn't really want to write on the World Cup in Qatar for the same reasons that many Germans didn't necessarily want to watch it. But yeah, I mean, I love watching Africa talent in the Bundesliga. Every time AFCON comes around, I watch every game that has a Bundesliga player in it. And yeah, he was, I really thought he was going to be the next big thing. Maybe we can blame Ta. He's fallen into that habit.
It is funny because all 3 of those centre halves, I would say Cousinu as well has a similar kind of issue. He also looks good at times.
That's why are we in a back 3? Why?
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the stabilizer formation, until Flo Wirtz got back. And unless Wirtz is carrying some sort of injury, I don't know that he is. He's on the bench.
I think he's being prepped now, actually. Just as we talk, he is being prepped. It looks like he will come on in the next 2 or 3 minutes or so. There was this on DAZN coverage, there was a little flash over to him just after Augsburg scored the goal. It looks as though he's getting ready to potentially come on within the next 3 to 5 minutes, just as Arnie Meyer gets a booking for a late challenge on, I think it was Palacios there. But, we know that Bayer Leverkusen have a lot of quality off the bench. There are going to be subs, actually. Now, let's just wait to see who comes on. The 4th official is getting ready, although, no, they have taken the free kick quite quickly. They have got a lot of quality, so this game is far from over. In fact, Augsburg will probably be quite worried because they do give away a lot of leads, don't they? That's the problem with Augsburg. They concede a lot of points from winning positions. They have been probably the better side overall in this game, just about, I would say, although they have won a free kick. They're fighting so hard in midfield. Now a booking for, was it Adley, I think now is in the book. I think that's 4 or 5 yellow cards. It is Adley now has made himself into the book as well.
Yeah, it's par for the course in an Augsburg game.
Yeah, they get a lot. There are. I remember when I saw them play Wolfsburg, I think there were like 8 bookings in the game.
That was the one where they had the assault, wasn't it?
Yeah, they ended up kicking off big time. I think even Marson was involved, the manager as well. So the coach, I should say.
Everybody.
But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of quality on this Leverkusen bench, but really they need something from this game because all of a sudden, say they lose this game or even draw it, they're falling off those European places again, aren't they, all of a sudden? This is a game that they would have expected to win, ultimately, the away side. And so far, they're not doing that due to poor defending in the end, really.
Yeah, Augsburg took the Hinrunde. I see no reason why Xabi lined up in this back 3. He has Wirtz back. He's encountered some success. Okay, they did not win on Sunday against Dortmund, but they were by far the more optical pleasing team. And they generated, I think it was 17 to 6 or something like that in terms of chance creation. You know what? Why are these people... I'm not a very popular guy, but
you sound popular. Yeah,
I get phone calls and text messages whenever we're in the middle of one of these broadcasts. Anyway, the team played exceptionally well, and Wirtz was up front. At times he was operating as a false 9. At times he was operating as the true target striker. Schick hasn't been available. He hasn't been informed for them all season. So there's no, you can't fall back on the Schick excuse. You have Hotzlek, who's done okay. You have Wirtz now. You have Hudson-Odoi, whom for some reason it was reported they are definitely returning to Chelsea after the season today. That popped up. Okay, now we got subs. We got Wirtz and Kerem Demirbay, the former German international and the current German international, coming on for what looks to be, it's going to be Hincapie? No, Hrotzek. Hrotzek coming off, Wirtz taking his place, and who's going off for Demirbay? Probably Palacios, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, Palacios is still on, by the look of it.
Cosano. It is Cosano. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into a format. What Xabi had tactically going on against Dortmund worked, period. Why he didn't roll it out again, the results, the result was a 0-2 loss. But they were an adventurous team. They were a fluid team. They were a team that you, under different circumstances, had it not been for Tapsoba's own goal, you would have expected to win the match. I think it was a very, very odd formation. As I recall, I think Andrich was the only holding midfielder, and Wirtz, Diaby, and Adli were all three in a top attacking trident, rotating a little bit in terms of their synchronization. But the back four with Frimpong and Hincapie was very, very good. And the front three did very, very well. I'm going to keep an eye on the shape here and see how they reformat.
There's a good ball into the out wide as well to Diaby once again, who cuts in there. It is Bayer Leverkusen with possession. Good tackle there from the defender from Augsburg, but Leverkusen seem to be, and an effort comes in. But again, it's all just shots from distance at the moment from Leverkusen. But I do expect that Wirtz is going to have potentially an impact on this game. I think that I can't see Augsburg keeping a clean sheet. I don't know why. They do give away a lot of leads, despite the fact they did win, obviously, 1-0 against Gladbach in the last home game. They're not a side that I really back to keep many clean sheets this season, really. And what would you say, Peter? Can you see them keeping a 1-0 shutout here, or do you think they might need another goal to win it?
Trying to figure out this shape here. It almost looks like a 4-1-5. All right, so they're definitely, obviously they're pressing for the equalizer. No question Wirtz is going to have an impact on this game. Very, very unfortunate, his ACL tear, because Wirtz is probably one of the greatest up-and-coming football talents in the world. And
he would have played at the World Cup, definitely, I think, if he was
absolutely. Fit. Well, you're going to know his name over the next 10 years, provided he stays healthy. So he will certainly have an impact. He's probably allowed to roam around however he likes. He's given free license, given his skills. But we've got Adli, Diaby. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. We've basically got 5 forward now.
But it's Augsburg who are still looking a little the better side in possession. I know it's going to be a little bit chaotic from Leverkusen now. There's going to be a lot of long balls probably played into that front 5, really, isn't there? And it's a unique tactic, but I guess this is what you often see in the Bundesliga. When a team goes behind, they just throw the proverbial kitchen sink at the other team, really, don't they? They don't care if they lose 3-0. Like, they're going for that equalizer and even the winner, really.
The tactics,
as I mentioned before, Leverkusen will want the win here. But what would you say? Have they gone too attacking, or do you think that's what's necessary now, Peter?
Well, it should be a fun finish, because obviously we've seen rolling Augsburg counterattacks based on this shape change, which is to be expected. And now that I think about it, this looks a hell of a lot like the tactics that Xabi was rolling with against Dortmund. And now that I think about it some more, that might have been one of the reasons why Kahn had such a good game as the sort of holding solo 6, as I see Diaby trying to make it work on the turn. He's going to unleash Adli, and we just got too many bodies in the box from Augsburg's perspective. We're probably looking at a tactical reformat from Augsburg here as well. Generally, what Mawson likes to do, it's a back 6 in defense of this league.
One thing I've got to say about Augsburg, they never seem to get very much from the referees. Like, they seem to get, like, just then there looked like there was a clear foul in midfield there from the Augsburg man, but it seems as though the referee is only giving free kicks for the away side at the moment. It's like it's one thing I've noticed quite a lot about Augsburg. I know they're a very physical side, but they never seem to get any decisions that go in their favor. It always seems like it's the referee versus Augsburg. Like, I can sympathize. What would you say? Am I accurate there, Peter, or do you think I'm being a bit too generous on the home side?
Germans, and this already, Germans take their refereeing very seriously. referees are assigned grades just as players are assigned grades.
Yeah.
And, referees are also sort of, whenever a referee makes a mistake, the DFB or the DFL, as the case may be, will publish written retractions, after, say, a handball error or something like this.
Yeah.
I actually write a lot about this on Bully News.
I've seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah, well, refereeing is a story in Germany. Not the most popular articles, because not everybody wants to talk about the refereeing. And I, as a football fan, I understand that. I mean, if the refereeing is the story, then it sort of takes something away from our beautiful game. But yeah, we take our refereeing very seriously. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thesis that you have there. You could say that they've gotten the short end of the stick a couple times this season. I believe in that crazy match that I believe you attended in person. They were unfairly treated. Yeah. But for the most part, I mean, okay, we have trading cards of our refs in Germany, whether it's Dr.
But they're all doctors. A lot of them are like doctor, right?
Absolutely.
So they're like very highly qualified.
Yeah, look, the fact that Manuel Gräfe was forced into retirement is a huge scandal in Germany. Go on Twitter to watch any Bundesliga match, and anytime a ref messes up, there will be some German there saying, "Where the hell is Manuel Gräfe?" Right? And he's been retired for 2 years now. We're mourning for Manuel Gräfe out there on the pitch as we see. Oh, there's some nice little
good goalkeeping there from Giekewitz, right?
Excellent goalkeeping there from Giekewitz. He's had a hell of a season. So, yeah. I don't want to bore everybody too much with the way that Germans love their refs, but it's something that we can scientifically break down, and we'll talk about it on Monday morning. It's absurd. I mean, we'll talk about which ref we thought had better games in the and it's a little bit in the VAR age. It's a little bit different now, unfortunately, because the VAR age makes it known to everyone that football is not as subjective a game as we all thought that it was. We always used to say, growing up, I used to say I love football because it's a subjective game. With the advent of VAR technology and and people and like refs in the studio that they go to and everything, we find out that a lot of the plays that we thought were subjective are actually fairly clear cut. That kind of sucks, because I miss arguing with people over what was a fair challenge and what wasn't. Don't you?
Well, one thing I've got to say, one thing I like about the German, usually the DFB or the DFL, like the fact that they actually acknowledge that it was a wrong decision. I think in England, often the governing bodies tend to side with the referees in most cases, and even if it was a very, very, soft red card, usually the FA will come out and back the referee in most cases, which on one side, from a professional point of view, is what you want to see from a boss, I guess, to be backed at the end of the day. But from a football perspective, sometimes I think it is okay if they say, look, the referee made a mistake in this game, and I think, especially if it was a big mistake, like a soft red card or a penalty that should have been given or something like that, I think, they should acknowledge it like they do in Germany in many cases, but yeah, just as Leverkusen, again, they are starting to look dangerous. They've not really created any major chances apart from that. A good ball coming in, but well defended. They're defending very deep at the moment, Augsburg. There's not many men up. It's going to take some brilliance from Berisha and to hold the ball up at the moment, although Bellio has done well to hold the ball up and gets possession in midfield for Augsburg, who, they're just trying to take it slow. They know that a win here would be massive. I mean, a win would put them right back up into comfortable mid-table, really, wouldn't it, to be honest, especially given the form of the likes of Hertha and Stuttgart and Schalke. They'll be feeling quite comfortable if they can win this game. It is a game that they didn't expect to win at the end of the day. They've got about 20 minutes to hang on, but it's not really Bundesliga style to hang on. In fact, they've got a chance again. Oh, what a chance for Augsburg to make it 2-0. It's Berisha who can't control the ball. He's overhit it. I think it was Meyer, actually, who put the cross in. It found its man, Berisha, but he hit it too hard and he couldn't control it. It should have been 2-0, really. It was actually dumb. No, Gumny has now got booked for a pullback on the Bayer Leverkusen man. I think that's 4 or 5 bookings again for Augsburg, as it always seems to be when they play. That should have been 2-0, shouldn't it, Peter?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, it should be an exciting finish. I was just noticing some of the questions here. I would. So Gary was wondering about the two Stasi clubs, Dynamo Berlin and Dynamo Dresden. Yes, they were linked. I don't know if they are linked today. I can tell you that it's taken some time for us Germans to get used to the idea of a Hertha Union Berlin derby, because these two clubs are friendly. They have friendly relations, particularly after the fall of the wall. Union Berlin was the East German club of the defectors, Nina Hagen and Wolf Biermann, which is why Union Dynamo was the huge Berlin Stadt derby in East Germany. So I don't know the answer to the question there, but that's another nice little plug for Union Berlin and why you should support them. They have such a great history of being the anti-establishment club in the East. Chris wanted to know why the scarves are so expensive at Hertha. The problem is that you went to Hertha. If you go to Augsburg, if you go to Mainz, if you go to Bochum, if you go to any of the Zweite Bundesliga sides or the Dritte Bundesliga sides, you will find them quite economical. Matteo wanted to know which stadium would you like to live next to. I have to plug my hometown club of FC Kaiserslautern and the Betzenberg. That's an easy question, and I think we're caught up there. Let's settle in for what should be a good finish here. To my knowledge, I did not catch any substitutions from Mawson yet. Have I missed something?
Oh yeah, Dorsch has just come on a couple of minutes ago for Rexia by, and then Jensen went off for Yeboah, the new signing as well. Just now, I think just a minute ago, we've just had it. I'm not sure if it's come on your screen yet. Although a good ball coming in there.
I'm in the 74th now. Okay, so
yeah, they were made in the 72nd. Yeah, so we have got Nicholas Dorsch, like the highly rated young German international. So yeah, he's on. And obviously, Yeboah, the new signing as well for Jens. And I'm quite looking forward to seeing him. He's the kind of player that could maybe seal the deal in this game, you know.
Germans are very, very happy to have Yeboah, the nephew of Anthony Yeboah, the former Eintracht Frankfurt player. So it's
and Leeds United. He was a legend at Leeds as well. You have to remember. Right. Yeah, he crossed the divide. He was one of the first kind of foreign Premier League legends, I would say, in the 90s. In England, we call him Tony Yeboah usually. So yeah, he was a great player for a period. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I forgot about that. So we got a very nice look at a 5-2-3 shape of Augsburg on my screen, which is pretty good adjustment from Mawson late in this match. It's built to absorb pressure and go on the counter there. Wouldn't be surprised.
What a tackle there! Did you see that tackle there on you? He looked as though he completely skinned him. Although I'm not sure. Maybe what happened there? Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, was that Tapsoba on Yeboah?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, no, you were talking about Mads Peterson on.
It was a great challenge that. What a challenge that was! He looked away. He looked like he'd skinned him completely, Pedersen.
Yeah.
And it was a great challenge. Although it did look. Would you say it was a foul, that one, or do you think it was the right decision to give a goal kick there?
Well, it came off of after he got the sliding challenge in. It was a wonderful crunching sliding challenge there. It did come off of Xabi, so it was absolutely. It was not a foul. He was going for the ball all the way. Mads Peterson, Rune will be very happy with him. That's the Dane. Some people may not know that he was formerly referred to as Mads Valentin or something. Danes have some, but he's really thrived under Mawson, playing on both sides, the left and the right of the defense there. So he's a player who's really improved under the new coaching regime this season. Basically, the way Augsburg is set up in this 5-2-3, I wouldn't be surprised to see them. Okay, I tip. What did you tip? 2-1. I tipped 2-0. Yeah, 2-0. I think we get this. I think Augsburg takes this 2-0. This will be their 5th Friday night home match win.
Well, the closing in, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Although a couple more substitutions from Bayer Leverkusen. Jonathan Tah has just come on the pitch as well.
Help
A
matters.
little bit of a strange substitution, really, to bring on a centre half in this situation. But yeah, he's I didn't quite. I think it's Hudson-Odoi as well who's come onto the pitch too. Yeah, Hudson-Odoi is on for Andrik. So I think it's going to be 6 strikers now for the away side. Although, he's starting to play sweeper keeper nowadays, Gikiewicz, who comes out really, really well again. I agree with you. He's had a brilliant season and more brilliant goalkeeping from him. It looked as though, I think it might have been Hudson-Odoi was going to get onto that, actually. And now, actually, booking for someone on the bench as well. I think it was one of the Leverkusen backs benches there has ended up getting booked as well. Jeez, every time I watch Augsburg, it's just yellow card heaven, literally. But no, it was Diaby who almost got in, and it was brilliantly headed away by Gikiewicz. He's been brilliant this season, hasn't he, Peter? Really, he's been awesome.
Yeah, well, he is. It's a shame I don't think they want to re-sign with him either. I think they're going to go.
Okay, I'm surprised.
Interestingly enough, it looks like Leverkusen's. It looks like Havetschki's. I like to try and pronounce his name properly. Yeah. Looks like his days with Leverkusen are coming to an end now too. He's not in the form that he used to be. Maybe too much beer and sauna, like those Finns.
From the Finn, yeah. Leverkusen starting to press now. Brilliant defending yet again. Last-ditch defending. I think it was Jeffrey. I'm not going to pronounce his surname again. One time is enough for one night, I think. But brilliant defending again. Like Leverkusen are starting to get in behind a little bit more now. But some of the defending from Augsburg and goalkeeping has been brilliant tonight, Peter.
Did you see Wirtz with that beautiful chip in that started that play?
Yeah, that was superb. That's the quality of the man.
I mean, basically, since you're ahead of me, you can go ahead and say the play, and I can watch the play develop a couple of seconds behind. That was all Florian Wirtz making that happen, and that's what he does. And yeah, we've got 5 forward with Wirtz, sort of around there as the roving 10.
And it seems to be working because, to be honest, the last 2 or 3 minutes is looking a little bit worrying for Augsburg. Now, they've won another free kick in a decent position now at Leverkusen. Just as we approach the 79-minute mark on mine, it's not really a good position for shooting because it's too central, but they might have a go at this. It's currently Demirbay, who's a great set-piece taker, by the way. He's standing over the ball at the moment. It might be a little bit too far out to shoot, but this is the Bundesliga. Teams tend to shoot when they have the opportunity, don't they? He might have a go at this. Yeah, I'll just stay with me while I talk you through this. The wall is just preparing at the moment, but it is Karim Demirbay standing over the ball for Leverkusen. I'm not sure if he's going to shoot. He looks a bit undecided, in truth. He's looking around to either wing. He's just played it short. Absolutely garbage. Complete garbage. He just hits it straight at the Augsburg defender, and it's allowed to clear.
Yeah, I expect better from Demirbay. Of course, Gikiewicz, I mean, he made the correct call there with a 3-man wall. And let me see. I guess the idea was to, that worked a lot better on the training pitch, I'm sure. I certainly from Demirbay. He was another player that had to fail to get just because that new administrator, he would have been a great addition for them. I still think he's a good player. I still like him.
I like him, especially his set plays, despite that one was atrocious. But
yeah, indeed.
I think maybe his best days are beyond him, but he has been a really good player in the Bundesliga for me.
Yeah, he only represented Germany at the senior level briefly. I think he was part of that 2017 Confederations Cup winning side, which I may have been the only German who watched and covered that tournament. I don't know. I kind of liked the Confederations Cup. It was like a little dry run, a little dress rehearsal for the World Cup.
Yeah, I was a fan. I'm surprised he scrapped that, to be honest, because it was a little bit more competitive football, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. Well, we want the Club World Cup now, which will be a better competition.
Yeah.
I mean, if Confederations Cup was just simply too small. Yeah. But let's see here.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to see another substitution from Augsburg. They are struggling a little bit. The last 5 minutes has been a little bit tough from them. But the last-ditch defending is good, but they need to get a little bit more control in this game again. It's going to be that man, the Croatian striker Belio, is going to go off, and it's going to be Noah Bazi who comes on. Don't know very much about him, the number 17. Do you know much about him, Peter?
Indeed. We were just talking earlier about how to pronounce his name. It's Noah Sakum Baze.
Yeah, Baze.
Which Derek Ray did perfectly, along with Jeffrey Habaleo. It's not,
it's got the French sound to that name. Yeah.
Well, when Elvis Vexberg joined Augsburg, I was like, of course. Augsburg always have the toughest name.
Yeah, they do always. Yeah.
Baze, I saw him once in relief. I don't recall. I think it was late last season, and I wrote about him in the tactics column because I thought he performed very well on the wing and tagged him in everything, but I've not seen him since. So that is an offensive-minded substitution. They want to freshen up the front three there for a potential counterattack. Again, I mean, I'm seeing Augsburg take this 2-0. I mean, we can get some magic from Wirtz. It's possible.
I think there will be another goal either way, definitely. I think the way that Leverkusen have set up, they're fine to lose 2-0 if it gives them a chance to get a draw or even a win. Do you know what I mean? Augsburg are the kind of side that if they ship a goal in the next 2 or 3 minutes, they could even potentially lose this game. That we've seen that happen before to them a few times, like late collapses from the home side, but they're looking pretty comfortable at the moment. I mean, Diaby's the danger man, isn't he, really? Diaby is, and it's quite ironic looking at the possession stats. We talked that early in the halfway through the first half, it was 62%. It's currently 58% for Leverkusen. So clearly we could see who's had pretty much all of the possession since it went to 1-0 on around 55 minutes. But they've created a few chances, I would say, but no major chances, really. And Augsburg look a threat on the break. It's mostly Berisha. Berisha's had another good game. And you just get the feeling he could go on and maybe play for a top German team next season, to be honest. I can't see. Do you know anything about that? Do you think they will keep him on a permanent? Because he's only on loan at the moment, isn't he? But he looks like a player that could play at a higher level in the Bundesliga to me.
I've been very excited to watch him this season since he arrived. And one of the first pods that I did with you, I was stating his case for the German national team. Yeah. Hansi Flick could only take one of the thriving German Bundesliga strikers, and he made the right choice in Niklas Füllkrug. But I thought he was in such good form this season that he would have made a fine addition to it, as playing Füllkrug's role for the German national team, coming off the bench and scoring a late joker goal, as we call it. I've been very excited for him this season. Great to see him score again tonight. And come on, Fugerstetter. I mean, at this point, I'm rooting for the Bavarian Swabians from the Fugerstadt, because
great defending from them as well. I've got to say, they're a good side, Augsburg. Yeah, it's just about this is where you cut the mustard, though. This is what they don't do enough. They don't see these kind of games out. I think they've been the better tactical side tonight, and I think they would deserve the 3 points if they get it. But for me, this is where I question them at times, whether they can see games out. Although they've won the ball very, very deep into the Leverkusen half, they're going to have a chance to make it 2-0 here. But it's well defended in the end by Jonathan Tah, actually, ironically, who hasn't had the best season in truth, has he?
Not the best the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, his career's kind of nosedived in many ways, but we're just hitting the 85-minute mark now. And as I say, this is the moment. They managed to do it against Gladbach, but this is a better Leverkusen side now. And, we're going to see what they're made of. We might see, 4 to 5 minutes added time, because there have been a few little misdemeanors in the second half.
Unless
we're going to see this game out, because for me, if they can still be a comfortable mid-table side for me, really, if they can start to see this kind of game out.
Look, with the roster that they have, with the talent that they've bought, they could even contend for the Conference League. It's possible. Yeah. Unless I find out that Florian Wirtz had gonorrhea or something, Xabi Alonso is going to get a big wag of the finger from me, a big lambasting in my tactics column this week, because I don't understand why he debuted with this 3-4-3. This result is entirely predictable based on the fact that Augsburg were able to stand up against it. They were able to nick a goal off of a corner, and now you're playing behind. Now things are getting desperate. Now if your players are just taking heavy touches and oh, that was an excellent pass from Wirtz. You probably know already if something became
harsh offside actually there against Leverkusen, which was nowhere near offside, by the way. We were just talking about Augsburg getting a few bad decisions against them, but this was a really poor one against Leverkusen in this case. He was at least half a meter onside there for me, which would have given him a good position to run at the Augsburg defense. You're right. I saw the replay. He was onside. Absolutely was, unless they show me a graphic that tells me otherwise. Yeah, I really don't. It looked comfortably onside to me. But yeah, I mean, that can happen, at this stage. And they're starting to get frustrated, Leverkusen, at the moment. We're approaching 87 minutes on the clock now.
This made no sense. I mean, he had a tactical system that worked well, and he had no reason to make the changes personnel-wise or shape-wise that he did coming into this match. He's got midweek off. Leverkusen are out of the Pokal. They were eliminated in the first round. That was the start to their very, very poor campaign. Of course, they didn't have Wirtz. They didn't have Schick. And what do we have here? I guess
great play from Yeboah. Yeboah is trying to take on the whole team here. Jeez. And he's just about challenged in the end. Wow. Yeah, that was great play from Yeboah. One of the first major things we've seen him do in the Bundesliga so far. But he is stopped in the end, but good way to use up the remaining time for the home side there.
That was a nice little move he made there.
Yeah.
Indeed. I mean, in the end, it was sort of an easy piece of defending from Tapsoba, because all he had to do was stand still while Yeboah did the scissors. But at least he showed us some fancy footwork.
Yeah.
If you were from Leipzig, would you support Chemie, Lokomotiv, or Austrian Fizzy Drink Company? Yes. I can't. I'm not from Leipzig, so I can't answer that question. I don't know if I would support Lokomotiv. Probably Chemie. Germans are. I saw a question in there. And it's a question that we've gotten before. Which club is considered more plastic? Is it Hoffenheim or Leipzig?
Yeah,
it's Hoffenheim.
Good question.
But the thing about Leipzig and the Red Bull GmbH is that's an Austrian invasion of Germany. We don't do that. That's we have
the other way is better. Yeah.
I mean, not to say we don't love Austrian players. I love watching Austrian players in the Bundesliga, and I have many, many Austrian friends. But Germany's the big brother, Austria is the little sister. So, we got to sort this relationship out properly. We're not allowed to be our big brother. That's not acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got to say, though, the headquarters of Red Bull is really nice. Salzburg is a really nice city. I went there a couple of times. It's a really nice place, but just a pity about the choice of drinks over there, really, isn't it? But it's...
Well, they're slinging legal crack. And on top of that, when it comes to energy drinks, I'm a rock star man. I don't drink Red Bull. So
yeah, me neither, to be honest. I did actually have a can when I was there in Salzburg because I wanted to try the local delicacy, so to speak, but it was horrible, basically. It hadn't improved since I last drank it 10 years ago, to be honest. So not a fan of the drink myself at all. But yeah, just as we approach the 90-minute mark, we're just about to go over 90 minutes, so we'll find out how long we've got. We've got 5 minutes added on by the fourth official there. So yeah, just about 5 minutes to hang on, really, for the home side for what will be a really good win if they can hold out. I would expect maybe another couple of chances from Leverkusen, who are pretty deep into the Augsburg half at the moment, although a really poor pass allows Augsburg to get the ball out for a few seconds reprieve. And yeah, once again, he should have poor clearance there, though, clears the ball to Diaby. Oh no, it's now Frimpong who's deep just outside the box for Leverkusen. Maybe a chance to get a shot away. Ooh, he hits it. Oh, it's way over the bar. Appalling shot from Demirbay, who hasn't really impressed since he came on. He's a good striker of the ball, but that's a waste of 40 seconds for the away side, Peter.
He looks like he's didn't get enough sleep last night. I think.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, he's had a poor game since he came on, and he just looks tired. He looks physically tired, doesn't he?
Maybe he needs a Red Bull. I don't know. But,
yeah, he needs one. Yeah.
He's had a rough week with the transfer to Hertha that almost went through. Actually, but he should be in a good mood that he didn't transfer to Hertha.
That's true.
He should feel like there's a huge weight off of his shoulders. Kind of sad to see him performing like that, I would say.
Yeah,
this is
an appalling ball again. I think it was Demirbay again has just played a garbage long ball, and that's the one thing you don't want to do in this situation. Just boot the ball out of play for Gikiewicz to waste another 30-40 seconds. They've not played this added time very well at all so far, the away side, but just about 2 minutes of that up now, so we've got about 3 more minutes to hang on. Just as a good long ball from Augsburg comes in, which is well defended by Tar. But yeah, Leverkusen are going to have all the possession. They are going to throw the kitchen sink. It's Demirbay who's bringing the ball forward time after time, and he plays a better ball this time, which goes wide to which is well defended again by Augsburg. The ball deep into the Augsburg half, but they'll be quite comfortable in this situation. It's the wings where they start to get worried, I think. When Leverkusen get the ball to the wings, they start to worry a bit. Although, it's well defended again by Augsburg. But Leverkusen recycling the ball well. But again, these balls coming in are just garbage at the moment from the away side. Certain Augsburg players do look tired, though, and some of the clearances are not really going to plan for them. But it's an Augsburg throw deep into their own half. Again, they can waste a few seconds from every one of these throws just as we get to just over 2 minutes of the added time left in this game. The pitch looks absolutely soaking wet as well, doesn't it, Peter?
Yeah. I mean, it's a rainy night in Augsburg, which would make a great blues song, by the way, if anybody wants to. You can have it. I'm not.
It's always raining in Augsburg. It was the same when I went there as well earlier in the year.
Actually, that's an even better blues song. It's always raining in Augsburg.
Yeah.
Went to the Folks Festival, tent fell down.
Yeah.
Well,
get your lederhosen and your Dirndl on.
Okay, as a Pfälzer, I'm not a fan of lederhosen. When I go hiking,
come on, you've got to love it,
I've been forced to wear them once or twice in my life, and we'll just leave it.
Yeah. Have you done Oktoberfest before, Peter? Have you been down there in Munich? Oktoberfest.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a Pfälzer, wine fests are particularly in the autumn are more our thing. Which highly recommend everybody goes to those and drinks plenty of Neue Wein. The wine that hasn't totally fermented yet. It's quite sweet. And I have to say that, Xabi is going to earn a fermenting from me. I don't know why he lets what could have been 3 points slip right through his fingers. 3 points that he definitely needs.
Frimpong just got in behind then as well. One of the few mistakes we've seen in the Augsburg defence. But again, the ball was poor, I think, from Frimpong. Although Berisha just had a chance to pretty much run the clock down there. There's less than a minute left, but he lost possession deep into the half. But, we've got about 30 seconds left. It's a throw-in for Leverkusen. There's not probably one last chance for an attack now. I think the next time Augsburg win the ball back, they will have the 3 points in the bag. But, it's good play, though, by... again, though, it's easily dealt with by Gikiewicz, and surely that's going to be the game now. I think Augsburg can be really proud of themselves. Leverkusen have the better side. At the end of the day, they have the better players. We are just, that 5 minutes is over. It depends on whether there's going to be another minute or so added for time wasting, but we are over the 5 minutes. The referee's blown the whistle. And Enrico Maaßen celebrates. It's a fantastic win. And both me and Peter were correct there. So come on, a few congratulations in for our, at least not from our score, but from our prediction that Augsburg would win anyway. But yeah, although the XGs are extremely low for a Bundesliga game, I think 0.66 for Augsburg, 0.49 for Leverkusen. But for me, it was a tactical game, and Augsburg just did better than Leverkusen. I agree that the back three was wrong. They didn't try to attack early enough in the game, and a few very good performances from Augsburg. The likes of Berisha was good again. Gijovic was fantastic. Jeffrey, the captain, was wonderful as well. And I think the fullbacks too did really well to deal with the brilliant Diaby, who did have his moments in the game. But ultimately, Augsburg, the better tactical team for me, Peter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just cannot state this point enough. I have to find out why Xabi didn't roll with Florian Wirtz in the starting 11, and why the 3-4-3 was dusted off. This was a 3-4-3 that had its problems. And as we get one from Paul there, who's he talking about? Uwe Rösler?
Uwe Rösler, yeah. As a Wigan fan, I don't know if you know, but Uwe Rösler, as they say in German, yeah. Uwe Rösler was a fantastic East German footballer, and he later managed Wigan Athletic, my team, as Paul also said as well. And he was a cult hero with the Wigan fans. He was really, really popular. And I think he's also a Man City hero from the days before the Sheikh as well. He played for Man City, and he was a real popular guy in the blue half of Manchester as well.
He also recently trained Fortuna Düsseldorf during their relegation in 2019-20. That we were actually really excited to have him back in Germany. That was, I think, it was his first German coaching gig.
Yeah, it didn't work out though, really, did it for him? But
yeah, they got relegated, and he stood. He saw through his contract. He went through the end of the season with the Zweite Liga. Yeah, that was odd. They sacked Friedhelm Funkel and brought in Rösler in order to avoid relegation. Ordinarily, you bring Funkel to avoid relegation. You don't fire him.
Yeah, but Funkel's a legend. Funkel's almost a strike level of legend. You know, he is
the true Feuerwehrmann.
He is. Yeah.
But
he's like the German Sam Allardyce, as we would say.
That's a good analogy. That's actually I never looked at it that way. It was Big Sam. Is he still around?
Big Sam, yeah. Well, he is still around until he got the England job and then got fired.
Right. Yeah, I know. Has he had a job since then? I don't think he has he?
No, I think he did. He came back. I can't remember who he managed, though. I think it could have been West Brom. I think he managed West Brom and then got them relegated, and then he retired after that.
Okay.
I think, So the England job was like the pinnacle of his career, basically.
I got you. Well, I mean, as I said, I have to find out why Florian Wirtz didn't start. And as I said, if he had gonorrhea, or if he had, if there was as Scotty from Star Trek would say, if he had a wee bout of shore leave or something like this, then I understand. But he needed to be in the starting 11 tonight. That this 3-4-3, there was no reason to deploy it. And Augsburg were able to win this game it was foreseeable that they could win it if Leverkusen didn't deploy their strongest starting 11. Augsburg deserved to be taken seriously. Certainly Friday night under the lights at the VWK Arena, where they've won
5 in a row for them as well, as you said.
5 in a row for them. So I don't know why Xabi went with the softer starting 11. I don't know why he didn't make any changes at the half. I mean, considering how that first half was played, at the very least, you had nothing to lose by making your tactical format at the restart. Yeah, somebody's getting a big finger waving from me in the tactics column, unless I find out that Florian Wirtz, maybe maybe something that I'm not aware of. Doesn't have to be shore leave. Okay, maybe he fell and hit his head. Maybe he ate a bad doner kebab yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah. But let's just have a look at what that does for the table. So I mean, obviously Augsburg, the big winners today. The table looking quite good for them now, on 21 points from 19 games. They're now 7 points away from Hertha in 17th, and 5 points away from Bochum and Stuttgart. So, things looking quite good for them. As we mentioned, for me, their goal should be to finish mid-table this season. I think with some of the players they managed to get, they've done good transfer business in both the summer and winter transfers. And some of the likes of Yeboah looked really good when he came off today. He managed to run down that clock well, a few good runs. He's got a lot of potential. You've got to remember they were without Demirovic tonight as well. And for me, him and Berisha is a really, really good partnership as well. They're a side that, they can win games at this level. And for me, they won't be a relegation struggling side. I think they'll finish probably lower mid-table, probably 12th or 13th, that kind of area of the table, which will be perfectly satisfactory for them, I guess. But yeah, as for Leverkusen, it's now, after that amazing run of 5 straight wins, it's now 2 straight defeats, and they're looking slap bang in mid-table in 9th with only 3 points better off than Augsburg as well. Now, they've now lost 9 games out of the 19, and, maybe the honeymoon period is over for Xabi Alonso now, potentially, with 2 pretty lackluster defeats really in a row. I thought that they were out tactic probably both times as well, really. I would say that Dortmund did a job on them last week, and then Augsburg again with Enrico Maaßen tonight, really. And, Xabi Alonso's got to learn, because I would agree that his tactics weren't right tonight. Even if Wirtz wasn't fit to start, he could have played the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi, and the back 3 just didn't seem to work at all, and it was a relatively poor performance from them. But Augsburg, for me, they did a job on them. They deserved the win, and well done to them. And ironically, the next home game is also on a Friday night as well, against Hoffenheim in a couple of weeks. So I think Hoffenheim are going to be quaking in the boots playing this Augsburg side on a Friday night, definitely, as they look to make it 6 straight wins at home in that game as well. So, yeah. Any closing remarks, Peter, before we close up?
Well, I mean, Augsburg could contend for that Conference League spot. Now, when one says that, the question is, what team does want the Conference League spot? Not necessarily a highly coveted prize. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're in any relegation danger this season. And I don't think that Leverkusen. I tipped them when we had our Rückrunde preview show to actually make it all the way back up to the top 4. Well, there's some points that they really needed to pick up in that pursuit tonight. It looks to be a Europa League for them next season. Xabi will remain the trainer no matter what, I think. I mean, unless there's something seriously goes wrong, like a 5-game losing streak, and that's not in the cards. But they're not going to switch trainers twice in one season. Yeah, he was. I wouldn't agree, actually, that Xabi was out-tacticked in Dortmund. I think he had the better set of tactics, and I think that his team played better. And I don't know why he didn't let that roll. Sometimes you just got to let it roll. Even if you lose, let it roll. Because if the team is gelling, if they've got fluidity, if they've got a certain amount of creativity and forward momentum to their play, even if the result is not good, leave the formation in place. Let these players continue to get used to one another. Don't know why that happened. We'll have to find that out. But I enjoyed very much watching this with you. I enjoyed talking about German football culture and history and things like that as well. I enjoyed answering the many questions from the many people that we had watching along with us. They were great questions. Great questions geared straight at Bundesliga football enthusiasts and fans.
Definitely. Obviously, our community is growing as well, which is a fantastic thing to see. And thank you for answering some of them as well, Peter. It's always interesting to get the German native kind of perspective on some of these issues as well. But yeah, obviously, we'll have a lot more watch-alongs coming for you before the end of the season. For the Friday ones are something we're looking at doing more and more of as well, because Friday is a time that kind of suits us. So yeah, definitely, hopefully have you on for a few more of them as well before the end of the season. So yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw today, then check out our Twitter following as well, @OverTheBarFB and @OverTheBarExtra. Remember to check out our OTBfootball.net as well, which is the main centerpiece of our work. We've got a good Twitter following as well over there. And, remember to check out our OTBfootball.net too. And yeah, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, especially if you enjoyed what you saw today. Our main focus on the YouTube is obviously the Bundesliga and the Football League. We've also actually got a special sponsor as well for the Football League stuff as well, with surprise shirts. So basically, if you go to our Twitter, you will be able to see we do have like a special offer and a discount on the surprise shirts site as well. The Football League Weekly guys know more about that than I do, and I'm sure they'll talk about that a little bit more. But if you have a look at our Twitter, you will be able to see more details for that, for how to get a discount on surprise shirts as well. So please remember to check that. as well. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you again for the review. I think on Tuesday. We're already scheduled with Peter as well on Tuesday to talk about the weekend's actions. So we'll see you then, guys. Bye bye.